up a bit, it's got quieter. We try to encourage customers to get more boiler services and any other stuff until the winter. Now's the time. Now is more people to have all of this sort of parts aren't hard to get hold of. There's a certain amount of work. But it really does
He should be here. Yeah, so
I just want to kick off today by saying welcome from MKU. So my name's Christian. I run the head of innovation here at MKU. So I run our innovation spaces. I go there and usually get the presentation. I just want to say hi to everyone. So welcome you all to this event. It's going to be a really exciting morning. We've got some amazing speakers lined up, and the work that Andy and the team put together is going to be really cool, really exciting because the bits I've seen look really good. Just want to do quick housekeeping things while I remember. So toilets are back up next to the stairs we came in. So as you just go upstairs, there's toilets right in front of you there. We're not doing a fire alarm today. We're not doing a fire alarm test. If the fire alarm doesn't go, it's real. So if that happens, the door is just opposite here, and then we meet at the green at the back. They just head out in an orderly manner and follow people in high vis. There will probably be me in a high vis. Tell you how this works. So I'm going to quickly just look at the agenda for today. So we've got quick introduction, networking, and then you've got 4 sessions, 4 talks, and then a panel discussion at the end. So this is your welcome to the sessions. And yeah, I think that's kind of very quickly. If those who don't know, I'll do 2 seconds just about MKU, that we are part of Cranfield University trying to build a space for new different types of education in Milton Keynes that's trying to look at what the future of education should look like and how we build interesting, exciting and actually very inclusive learning experiences. And that's where AI, we think, is really close to that. Thinking not as AI as a barrier to education, but really something that can help support and should be a basis for education as we go forward. So that's what we do. If you want to talk to me more, I'll be around at the break for a little bit of networking. And if you want to have more discussion around that, I'm happy to do so. Otherwise, I'm going to hand over to BNL, who's going to be our first speaker for today. Give him a nice round of applause as he comes up.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see you all. Some very familiar faces. I'm not. Hopefully, I get to meet all of you. I'm going to talk about using one of the tools called Microsoft Copilot. Thank you. Microsoft Copilot to basically accelerate the use of AI within your organization. The reason I'm tackling this is purely for educational purposes, because what we've found is that AI is being bandied around as this fancy product. Business owners are aware of what it is. But what we've found is that they don't know how to use AI every day to start getting those productivity gains that everybody's talking about. So I'm hoping to expose some of that to you today. So I'm going to attempt to do some live demos. So I can't promise how that's going to work. You know how these are. The internet connection isn't particularly fast, but I'll give it a good go. So a little bit about me. I run a business called Dragon Information Systems. We started about 17 years ago, out of a passion for technology and helping businesses leverage technology to overcome challenges within their organization. So whether that's support, systems, infrastructure, cloud, AI, whatever the case might be. We are purely an IT managed services provider, specializing in IT support, AI, cybersecurity, the provision of hardware, software, SaaS applications, and cloud. We're a team of 18 people based just down the road here in Newport Pagnell. And so we're all engineers, but we also enjoy talking and working with people, so that makes a difference. So, what is Microsoft 365 Copilot? 365 Copilot is touted as Microsoft's artificial intelligence assistant. It is designed and now is designed as an AI tool that underpins all of Microsoft's productivity applications. So it's embedded in things like the common applications you use every day, Office, applications, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, all those things that you're used to. But what it does is it takes a large language model that you'd find like ChatGPT. It then couples that with the data that you store within Microsoft Graph. So whenever you have a touch point with Microsoft, so your email, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams data, are all stored on this platform called Microsoft Graph. It then couples that with Microsoft Apps, and then the use of the internet to give you a product called Microsoft Copilot. The product is built on some founding principles based on security, compliance, privacy, and responsible AI. Security, because it's all backed by the Microsoft ecosystem, so everything you find in Microsoft Entra ID, user ID, single sign-on, and all the security that goes around that platform is embedded in Copilot. It has a facility of compliance tools that you can use. It guarantees privacy. Now this bit's really, really important. The large language model that Microsoft use is never trained on your data. Okay? Which means if you're storing sensitive information within Microsoft Graph, that information is not used to train the AI model. So we're not going to have an issue with the leaking of intellectual property. And then finally, Microsoft describes to responsible AI. And what that means is by the end of using the product, we're not going to have Terminator popping out of the woodwork. Okay? So that's Microsoft's guarantee. So I'm going to talk about two specific areas of Copilot. And one is Copilot Chat, which is really your interface to the artificial intelligence application, which is Copilot Chat. And then the second part of this, I'm going to talk about something called agents, Copilot agents. We've now moved on from just asking ChatGPT or Copilot questions and collating data, all now to moving into agentic AI, which is using AI to create agents to perform specific tasks, to do the mundane work that you or members of your team don't want to do. So the first scenario is a sales planning scenario. Really simple. You run an EV charging business that sells car EV chargers. You work in the strategy department, so you're tasked with trying to find out exactly how we navigate this ever-changing world of EV chargers. And you need to compile up-to-date information about specifically what's happening in the UK market, because you operate in the UK market, right? And you need to compare these to the sales figures that's currently being performed by your organisation. So you're selling EV chargers across England, Wales, Scotland, specific areas. Central London is probably your best selling area. But what you want to do is you want to use Copilot Chat as a research tool to understand what activities you can perform to help you to boost your sales based on your current sales figures and what's happening in the market. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that. So here we go. Here's the live demo, people. So if you haven't seen this already, this is Microsoft Copilot. Let's just do the resizing here. Okay. So it's a really simple interface, and what you'll see in this interface is that you can either choose to have a work profile or a web profile. Okay. When you work on the web profile, Copilot uses data found in the internet to give you results, and only the internet. Okay? When you switch to work, Microsoft then puts you into a mode that learns from the data stored in Microsoft Graph. Okay? So this links all your personal information, all your business information that you have access to, and then compiles that information along and supplements it with information from the web to give you a result. So let's go back to our EV scenario, and I'm going to ask Copilot a simple question. That question is, what is the ratio of EV cars to EV chargers in the UK for the past 3 years? Please show it in a table organised by region. Bit of a simple question, so here's the researching going on. And so now we have Copilot going out into the web, scouring the web for this information and compiling it for me. Okay. So let's have a look at that. So these are the ratios. It's all work mode. Sorry, it's on work mode. Let me do this again. It's definitely not going to do anything if I do that. Okay, there we go. So this is the ratio of the number of cars and the number of chargers in Greater London, for instance, in 2023, all up to 2025. Okay. So now I'm going to ask it the following question. Let's just go here. need to know the quarterly trends for each of our sales regions. Create a quarterly revenue line graph for the past 3 years based on the following file. And I have a file in here which has my EV sales report for UK regions. Okay, so I've had this data collated already for the last 3 years in a simple Excel file. And what I will do is I will very quickly show you what that file looks like. So you understand, have an idea of the reference data. So this is the file of various different type A, B, C, and D charges, regions, the price, the quantity we've sold, sales value, and when in the month I sold it. So it's a really simple document with about 5,000 lines in it, so we're not going to interrogate the whole thing. So here I will say engage. So Copilot goes out, interrogates our file, and then gives me a revenue line graph for the past 3 years based on regions. Unfortunately, the internet isn't the fastest. So there. We're having definitely an internet issue. Let's try this again. That. It's like waiting for the tablet to Okay. Relax. Okay, so here we go. So this is the line graph based on the analysis from the raw data sitting in an Excel file. So, now that I have this, so I understand the trends, I've researched the trends, I've now researched my own performance, I'm going to say the following. I need to know the quarterly trends. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. So I'm going to say to Copilot, based on trends, suggest 2 ways I can increase sales in the Greater London, Scotland regions. So what it's going to do is going to look at the trends currently in those regions. It's going to have a look at how I'm trending and what I'm doing in those regions. And it's going to come up with some ideas on what to do. So I'll very quickly go through that.
Lionel?
Yeah.
Just drop the mic and speak.
Can you hear me?
Drop the mic, it'll be easy for you to navigate the computer.
Or can you hear me okay? Okay, so here we go. Ideas for Greater London. Establish local partnerships and a digital advertising campaign. Look at enhanced customer experience and customer feedback, loyalty programs. And then up in Scotland, where the market's a little bit different, it's saying focus more on community engagement, local events, educational workshops. because it seems to think that people in Scotland might not be as educated about EV as people in London. Okay? And product customization, regional preferences, cater for specific preferences and needs of the Scottish market. This could involve offering region-specific features or designs. Okay? So some areas are more remote, requiring a different strategy for your EV, and then also look at a flexible pricing model and pricing strategies. So this didn't take us very, very long to do, but it's an extremely powerful tool to enable us to do market research in, say, this being our marketing strategy. But you can apply this to lots of other things, right? You can apply this to understanding how your competitors perform, understanding how your competitors meet the needs of the current customer base compared to how you perform. You could look at your service department and the KPIs within your service department and compare that to other service departments within the UK in industries offering a very, very similar service to you. Okay? So extremely powerful, and you can basically do all of this within minutes from Microsoft Copilot by leveraging the data that you currently have and the data that's found on the internet. Okay? All good? So I'm going to move on to something a little bit more exciting. And that is...
Sorry, Lionel, quick question. When in the work section, you said about it learning the patterns that you as an individual does. Is it you as an individual from your own workstation, or does it go off into the wider company network and learn from everybody?
It will learn from all data generated in your organization that you have access to.
Okay.
Okay. So if you're a mid-level worker that's compiling data found in your organization and you don't have access to the finance folder, the results you get will omit information found in the finance folder. Okay? So if there's a specific management folder that you're not privy to, it won't compile information from that data source. So the data sources are all backed by the security set up within your organization. So therefore, one of the good things is when you start going on your journey with Copilot, one of the things you've got to ensure is that there's roles-based access to data within your organization, right? It's not a free-for-all for everybody, and then suddenly everybody gains access to all the information in your organization that they shouldn't be seeing. Okay? So next one we're going to talk about very, very quickly is Copilot agents. And we're going to work another scenario to do this. So this is taking AI and turning AI into a tool that can be referenced for a specific purpose. Okay? So today we're going to talk about the scenario of HR. So we're going to use Copilot to obviously try and increase revenue, reduce cost, and scale. You own a business and employ an HR officer. Let's call this officer Henry. Okay. Henry, his day-to-day job looks after recruitment. He publishes social media posts to encourage new talent. He recruits new team members, so he spends a lot of his day looking at job descriptions and finding out how to recruit new team members. He's also part of the senior management team, so he has to have meetings with board members and all the stakeholders, so there's a lot of prep work to do in his daily job. He also has to keep up with new HR regulations, very, very important, ties him up in knots. But also, phenomenal amount of admin. Barrage of emails, team messages, calls, questions like how many vacation days do I have left? I'm thinking about having a baby. How does that work with my pay? I'm sick for whatever reason. Do I still get paid? I'm about to do mileage in my own car. How do I get reimbursed? So all of these day-to-day stuff that he has to field. Okay, and we estimate all of those little questions probably takes about 20 to 30% of Percy's entire work week. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to try and develop an HR agent that specifically is going to help Percy to answer a lot of those calls that come in to his department. Right. So we're going to flip back to something called Microsoft Copilot Studio. Copilot Studio is a tool that allows you to build tools like Copilot agents to use within your organization. So I'm going to whip through this quickly. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create an agent. Create a new agent. And some of the things we can do is we can start to describe who this agent is. We're going to call him Henry, miracle worker. Okay. And so what we're going to say here is Henry is our HR co-pilot. He knows everything about our HR policies and procedures and can answer questions for you quickly and accurately. If Henry doesn't know, you can always ask a real person in HR. Okay, so what are we going to instruct our HR agent to do? We're going to say the following. Your tone should be friendly, helpful, cheerful, and expressive. Always greet users warmly and use a smiley emoji. Use positive language, offer help proactively, use emojis and exclamation marks for cheerfulness. Keep the conversation engaging with expressive language and end conversations politely. So what we're saying is we're saying to the agent, we're giving it a persona, we're telling it how to behave when people interact with it. And this is really, really important because based on the agent, you want to set the tonality on how your agent responds. So really, really simple. Okay. So I'll come back to starter prompts in a minute. So we've got to tell this agent what it needs to do and the body of work it needs to look at. But before we do that, I'm going to create the agent very quickly. Hopefully we don't have an issue doing that. Okay, so here's our agent, Henry the Miracle Worker. We've got a bit of a description. He's telling you how he wants to behave. And what we're going to do is we're going to add some knowledge. So fortunately for me, I already have an HR SharePoint site that has a whole load of collateral that talks about my HR policy, my HR handbook, and a whole load of other things. So I'm going to find where that is. Oh, there we go. Fantastic. So I don't know if you can see, here's our vision statement, for instance, my dress code policy, comprehensive employee handbook, health and safety policies, policy and procedure manual, and time off in lieu policy. So I'm going to select all of that information as the body of information I need to use. There we go. These are all the documents specifically I want my AI agent to reference, and nothing else. I'm going to add that. Okay, and here's something really important. Allow the AI to use its own general knowledge. So for this agent, I'm not going to allow it to search the internet and go off and give me answers it thinks it's relevant. I only want the answers from this Copilot agent to come from a specific set of knowledge that I've given it. You can create agents with knowledge that will go off into the web, for instance. So if there's a regulatory website that you reference all the time, there might be something on Gov UK, there might be something on the Financial Services Conduct Authority. So if there's a body of knowledge on the internet that you want to make available to your HR agents as a shortcut, saves your staff going out and looking for this information, you can pull external sources to not only supplement the information and the knowledge found within your organization, but also professional bodies of knowledge, like regulators for instance, to come and underpin that information sitting in the responses that come from your agent. Okay? So there we go.
Quick question. So if you allowed it to go and get its own general knowledge, if it got conflict information, would it use the internal document first?
Yes, it always uses the internal document as the preference in this case. I can also do little handy things like starter prompts. Starter prompts will be a title, so let's call the title sick pay, for instance. And the question for the prompt will be, I still paid when I am sick? Okay, maternity, for instance. Can you tell me more about maternity rules, for instance? So you can create a lot of these shortcuts. It becomes available to people. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to save that. This last bit. Okay. Okay. I can publish this. This agent now is built.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is it possible to get the agent to sort of be more human? Give you an example. I think it might be a problem with your
Yeah.
bereavement policy. You put your smiley face and always end positively and cheerily.
Yeah.
Someone asks about so-and-so's died, how do I get time off work?
Yeah.
And it quotes the bereavement policy and gives it the old cheery ending.
Oh, shoot.
How you sort of how would you manage that? Would you tell it to sort of use your best instincts to respond in the best way, or
Yeah, I think
is that just too open?
I think you've got to decide exactly the tonality that you want to have.
You've got to fix it on
Yeah,
something.
I mean, we're not at that point where, I mean, it is quite intuitive in terms of understanding certain types of situations and circumstances, so it will try and temper the response accordingly. But generally, if you want something to be completely upbeat, then it will lean on being completely upbeat as part of its tonality. But as I say, it's up to you to decide exactly how.
Or you could
Maybe
look
that.
at the policy, work out all the negative things and create like a, in this
Yeah.
scenario. in this, yeah.
And the beauty part about your agent is that this set of instructions, the more you bulk this up and the more information you give it on how to behave,
Yeah.
the more tailored that response becomes. Okay? So it's a matter of just spending a little bit of time. So here's my agent, it's been published and I can test my agent. Okay? So I can say things, if I for instance go back to agents, every, and it's there. So I can say things like, what is our dress code? So it's going to go off, it's going to look at the body of data that I've given it, and all those documents, and it's going to come back and return this information in. Okay? And what's really, really interesting is it cites where the data source. It's really important because if you get an answer here and your end user can then click on the handbook and see for themselves, they know exactly where the information's been cited from. Okay? Now what's really good about this agent is you can take this agent and you can publish this agent in various different places. You can publish the agent on the HR section of your internal website. You can publish the agent within Microsoft Teams, for instance. Right? So if...
Sorry, can I ask a question on the, so like on that response, for example,
yeah.
person's, assume staff members asked a question on it, and the response to me kind of reads as, is handbook. Or is it further, right, and is that just because of you need to go more into, provide information from the handbook to kind of answer the question?
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. So I did exactly the same thing in the previous demo, and I called this agent Harriet. And I published Harriet into Microsoft Teams. Okay. So I can say things like, what is our bereavement policy? Works all right. Okay, so this is the same body of data, asking it like an end user would ask. And what it intends to do is it intends to distill the information from the data source, provide you that distilled information, but also tell you where that information is coming from, if the internet works fast enough. Okay, I'm quite conscious that we're also a little bit short on time. To that. What I want to show you very, very quickly is what I showed you was a really, really simple agent that goes out, looks at a body of data, comes back, and then gives your end users or whoever, even yourself, you can create personal agents to do things for you. The next step on is moving agents that can do things like automate tasks for you. I'm not going to go through it completely, but what I created the other day was something called an HR email helper. So this is an internal agent that I don't publish to my end users and I use for myself against my own inbox, right? So the description is, you help with incoming emails to my inbox, you are a research agent who looks through all the questions that are asked in the email and do research for me. This is my instructions, right? When an email comes in, use the knowledge sources to research the questions in the email. Use a send connector to reply based on the research that you have done, formatting the HTML in a professional manner. For each question, start a new paragraph. So somebody says, can you tell me more about this, tell me more about that, and tell me more about that. For each of those responses, it will start a new paragraph. We also say to you, if you don't find the answer in the knowledge sources I have given you, do not answer the question. But instead, let me know what questions are left unanswered. At the bottom of the email, let me know what some good questions to ask the customer in order to discover more about their interests, and sign off my emails with regards, followed by name. And in this case, these emails were being sent to an HR mailbox, okay? And so what happens, my email helper will pick up that email, look at the query, go off to the source of knowledge, construct an email in my drafts, ready to go out, okay? Ready to go out for me to review. It'll tell me if there are anything in that email. So it'll be something like, hi Lionel, good to meet you the other day. Can you tell me more about toil, sick leave, bereavement, X, Y, and Z? Oh, and by the way, the burger we had was really great that you made. Can you send me the recipe? So it's going to go, here's information on X, Y, and Z found in the data sources. In the draft, it's going to say to me, unfortunately, I can't send Joe the recipe to the burger that he's asked for. Okay? And it's going to sign off. And so what that's going to do is it's going to give you the body of information pre-created for you. You can tell it the bit of the burger recipe at the bottom and go, that's my mum's secret, sorry, can't part with that. Email sent. So this is now the next level of taking automation in agents to another level. So when we're talking about truly giving you feedback, truly gaining the half an hour a day, gaining an hour a day, these are the types of products that can help you do that. So I hope that was very helpful. I'm very conscious we run out of time, so we have a panel discussion at the end. So if you want to talk a little bit more about how we can help with this, yeah, we can have a conversation there. Thank you.
Everybody hear me okay? Yeah. I can see a few of you had your coffee this morning, nice and upbeat. So, first and foremost, the Apollo moon landing, 1969, a monumental moment in human history. The birth of the internet, the World Wide Web, another monumental moment in human history and communication. Finally, human genome sequencing, okay, the ability to sequence DNA as we know it today. What do these three moments in technological advancement in humanity have in common? Does anybody know? This is going to be a very interactive session, so work with me here. So if you don't know, it's fine. If you do know, want to take a guess, please feel free to go for it. Sorry?
Optics.
No? Good guess? Anyone else?
All created by a person.
True, but not today. What we're going to go for is they all rely fundamentally on data. So the Apollo mission, the guidance control systems, was fundamentally backed by data, navigating the location of the Apollo moon landing itself. Next, moving on, the World Wide Web, based as we know it and how we communicate today on the package transfer of data. Okay. Finally, human genome sequencing was the ability to interrogate and identify the patterns underlying the human data DNA as we know it today. Okay? So in today's session, what I want to give to you all is an understanding of how we utilize data fundamentally to feed artificial intelligence and how we can bring that all together in what I'm going to say is building and executing a successful data and artificial intelligence strategy for your organization. So before we get started, I'll give you a bit of background on myself. So my name is Leon Gordon. I'm CEO and founder of an organization called Onyx Data. Outside of that, I partner with Microsoft. I also write very regularly for Forbes as part of the Forbes Technological Council, alongside other various associations, including Gartner and the LinkedIn Top Voice program. Now that's all well and good for me today, but it's not where I started. And this is the reason why I think I'm going to be best placed to have this conversation with you today, because this is me roughly around 22 years ago. Those of you that are very keen-eyed will notice that I started my career as a footballer. Obviously, it didn't work out, which is why I'm here with you today. Okay? So my background is not in data or artificial intelligence, and I did not graduate university, which makes me very much a unicorn in the field today. Now, any MK Dons fans here today? Excellent. Because I played for Wycombe Wanderers, which is obviously a key rival for MK Dons nowadays. Okay, so with that being said, why do AI and data matter now for you and for your organization? Okay, we've all heard the horror stories. Artificial intelligence is going to take over everything. We're going to be out of jobs. Skynet is upon us. Okay. And I'm here to tell you that there's a lot of bias which are applied to these principles. A lot of organizations are not on the bleeding edge of technology. They may be talking about Operator, Magnus, and DeepSeek, for example, but lots of organizations aren't actually implementing this across the whole organization. What's happening, as I'm sure is the same with a lot of people in this room, is you're going and paying $20 yourself to get a ChatGPT license, for example, or using Copilot in siloed parts of the organization. So let's first and foremost take a look at current challenges facing businesses in adopting these technologies. Okay. So here is a chart from Gartner. So I will rely quite heavily on information supplied by Gartner for today's session. I will tag into that ambassador title. And what we're looking at here is employee anxiety that AI will replace their job, and this is by function. It's a relatively new survey which was conducted at the beginning of 2025. So these are very recent results. Okay, we'll start off at the top. We can see that marketing and PR and HR are very concerned about their positions and embedding artificial intelligence. Moving on to where we can start to see finance and accounting, executive management, and IT really holding up the top end of this chart. Now, what I can quite clearly say is that every department within an organisation, in some way, shape or form, is worried about implementing these type of technologies and what it means for them in the long term. Outside of that, I'm sure we all know, and I'll just hypothetically call out a Steve or a Jane that works in finance or HR that has this God spreadsheet. Okay, they are the only person who knows how this spreadsheet works, the amount of macros that hold it together, and how this whole process remains the same. Okay, now these particular individuals that fall within these different departments, as you can see here, their actual willingness to change is starting to reduce. Now, as you start to go through transformational projects within your organisation, and you'll see as we go through today's demonstration, it's very key to get different department members at each level of the organisation on board, or like I like to say, on the bus for the journey. Now, I'm going to show you how you can start to use artificial intelligence to put together some wins and what it means for you and your organisation. Okay? And I like space, as you've probably seen from the Apollo moon landing, so we're going to liken this to a rocket ship taking off. Okay? So this was a study done by PwC, where they surveyed industry-leading CEOs and how they're using generative AI particularly to show impacts in their organisation. Now, 56% of these CEOs saw efficiency gains, while 1/3 saw profitability and revenue increases. Okay. Now, I want to put this into context. If you look around you in this room today, more than half of the individuals potentially could see efficiency gains within your organisation. Now, start to process what that would look like from a revenue perspective, from a time-saving perspective, and most importantly, from an employee engagement and happiness perspective as well. Then start to look around and look at yourselves as 1/3 and understand what a profitability or revenue increase today would mean for your organisation during what we know are hard economic times within the UK. So I'm going to start off by going into a bit more detail, like I mentioned before, on data. Now, a lot of you in the room may be well versed in terms of data. You've all heard the saying that data is the new oil. If I had a pound for every time I'd heard that, I'd probably be somewhere very warm right now as opposed to in the UK. Okay, but I've never heard anybody liken data in a better manner than likening it to oil. Now, oil's great. It's obviously a commodity that's been monetized globally. We've seen this particularly in the Middle East. And it's fantastic if you can bring that oil together, maintain it in a rig, package it into barrels, and then distribute that out globally at a profit for your organisation. But what about if you have data as the new oil, but there's an oil spill in your back garden? Okay, data is everywhere. You can't control it. It then becomes a nuisance. Okay, this is not my back garden, thankfully. My wife would kill me. But if you just look at data across your whole organisation and have no governance or understand the quality of your data, how can you control it, barrel it, silo it, and then use it as a commodity within and outside your organisation as well? So with that being said, let's look at some of the hidden costs of data quality. I won't offer a pound to everybody in this room that can spell my name in 4 different ways. For those of you that can't remember, my name is Leon Gordon. So we can spell Leon or Leon in plenty of different ways.
and Gordon in a plethora of different ways that I've heard as well. Now, what do I mean when I refer to that? Is if you were to do that in a system, then I wouldn't have a unique reference for my transactions or my interactions within an organization. It could potentially be associated to, let's just call it two different personas, Leon and Leon, okay? Now, when you start to look at this at scale across thousands of individuals, you can start to very quickly get into this scenario that I mentioned before, with having all of this data available, but not being able to consolidate it and utilize it, okay? So as I mentioned, what can this mean for your organization? Well, it can bring in a loss of revenue, okay? Revenue is king to everybody in here that owns a business, as I've mentioned previously, especially in these testing economic times, okay? Reduced efficiency. In all of the conversations I had while we were waiting for coffee this morning, everybody spoke about productivity, being more efficient, utilizing artificial intelligence to do so. To utilize the type of artificial intelligence, especially that Lionel showed us in the previous demo with Copilot, we have to ensure that that foundational aspect of data is quality. Flawed decisions. Hands up if you've made a bad decision in your life. We all have. Now, if you can rely on data to actually give you the insight to make data-driven decisions, you need to understand that that data is accurate, timely, and is going to give you the actual input that you're looking for to make better decisions. Compliance risks, okay? There's nothing worse than having a compliance risk land on your doorstep. If anybody in here works in compliance, then you'll know, or if you work with compliance as a department, you'll know that they are, for good reason, one of the hardest departments to work with and to get on the right side of. And again, this comes down to having quality data. Opportunity loss, okay? As I've mentioned, in today's day and age, especially with half of the room generating additional revenue from artificial intelligence, and another third generating more revenue and profit than everybody else in the room, and if you multiply that to a global stage, it's even more important now to ensure that you're getting all of the opportunities that you can. And finally, reputational damage. In this room, I'm sure, similar to myself, you've all built up reputations, whether it's from a career perspective or within your organizations. Again, it only takes one data breach to eradicate that overnight. So how do we do this? So we start off with these 4 pillars of a strong data infrastructure, okay? Starting first and foremost with data management. So this is understanding the amount of reports, for example, in your organization. And even at that report level, who has access to those reports? How often are those reports actually utilized? If I go back to the demonstration of Jane and Steve, they could be spending half of their working month generating these data extracts, running macros or data pipelines, depending on how mature your organization is. But for the output, who's actually reading those reports and using those reports to take action that benefits the organization? Do you know that within your own businesses? Data quality. As I've mentioned, garbage in, garbage out. Again, sorry for using the age-old sayings, but I haven't stumbled upon a better way to put it at the moment. So ensuring that the data that you get into your systems and into your reporting is timely, accurate, robust, and then can be utilized further down the line. And if it's not, that's okay, but make sure you have your transformational processes and pipelines which can be automated and are repeatable to get your data into a quality manner, ready for reporting and ready for analysis, and also ready for artificial intelligence. Ethics and biases, okay. I'm sure I'm not the only person in the room that has been subject to a bias in their time. If I was to plug a picture of myself into certain legal systems or certain policing systems that were utilizing artificial intelligence across the globe, I may be profiled as a criminal, for example, okay. I can stand here before you today and swear on the Bible that I'm not a criminal, but again, some of these biases can creep in depending on the data you're using, and also depending on who's interacting with those systems as well. And finally, data governance and security. Okay? We may not want everybody to know the CEO's salary in the organisation or how much of a bonus they got paid last year. Similarly to some of your peers within an organisation. So how do you make sure that that data is both secure and governed? And how do you ensure that remains the same as it evolves over time as well? And I would suggest that these are the 4 pillars to ensure that you have in place for a strong data architecture. Now, when you have that in place, you can then start to look to utilise artificial intelligence. Okay? Now, artificial intelligence is what I like to call the brain behind the data. We started off with small amounts of data. So if I go back to the Apollo moon landing, where they were able to crunch these numbers in real time, we have supercomputers in our pockets. Okay? They didn't have access to these types of solutions back in 1969. They had to make sure that the processing power was optimal, that the data was compressed enough to be able to be analysed and then taken action on in real time. Today, we use artificial intelligence to siphon through billions of parameters of data, huge data sets. We've gone from big data to what we call massive data sets now, and this is where we really need to start to leverage artificial intelligence. Now, a lot of people in the room will look at artificial intelligence as generative AI, the likes of ChatGPT, DeepSeek, for example. But as you'll see here, artificial intelligence has multiple branches. Machine learning, for example, which is very much based on statistics, okay, which has been around for 60 years easily. NLP, natural language processing, which involves text, speech, for example. Outside of that, automated planning, intelligent robots. So I really want to set a level playing field. What you see being detailed in today's day and age as artificial intelligence really is generally people talking about generative AI, which is a very small branch of the wider piece of the puzzle. Okay. So just want to have some food for thought for you all, especially if we go into the networking break following my session. Okay. Just want you to think to yourselves, what is your biggest challenge, either in your career or in your business, in terms of adopting artificial intelligence currently? This could be stakeholder engagement, it could be lack of data quality, for example, it could even be lack of expertise. So let's go through some first steps for artificial intelligence adoption. What I see all too often, and I can give you an interesting story, this is a real story. So my organisation works with lots of clients based in the Middle East, Europe and America. When ChatGPT first hit mainstream publication, one of my clients who was working on a financial project said to me, I want to be able to talk with my data in ChatGPT. Now, this was a Middle Eastern based client, and we were talking about, or they were talking about, loading all of their financial data directly into ChatGPT. As you can imagine, and as you're all aware today, because we have a bit more maturity with artificial intelligence, alarm bells started ringing all over my head, and I had to manage it in the best possible way to walk them through the fact that they weren't ready to adopt these type of technologies, and taking their data directly into ChatGPT probably wasn't the best solution for them at the time. Okay? So how do you get ready to start to adopt artificial intelligence across your organisation? So how we've got duplication of slides in it, so we'll just move past that. So we go for a system that we put together called the 4 A's. Okay? First off, we start by looking to assess, where are you today? Okay? What does your estate look like? What are we trying to achieve and why? Then we look across your organisation to align, getting all of your key stakeholders to engage in terms of why we're moving forward, how we're going to move forward, and agreeing on that, which is the third part, before ultimately going ahead and activating this new data strategy and framework. So we'll just take a look at another slide here from Gartner, and I can make these slides available after as well. You can take pictures throughout, and please feel free, as I've mentioned before, to stop me with any questions just as we go through. So the way that I like to look at projects is not just, okay, here's shiny tool A, let's go and use this and see what happens. Here's shiny tool B, here's shiny tool C, for example. But every organisation in this room has goals and objectives across their business. It could be to grow net profit by 5%, for example. It could be to increase net promoter score with clients, or it could be more internal objectives across an organisation. So understanding these in terms of your key imperatives, okay, your current stage goals, and then starting to look at what can become critical enablers of each of those goals. Okay? So for example, if your goal is to grow net profit by 5%, you could start to look at some strategies that Lino mentioned previously in terms of using a co-pilot or an agent to how you can enable your sales team to go and drive more revenue. So what you're doing is starting to tie the technology to a business goal that you can then put metrics in place, as you'll see at the bottom here, to start to measure whether you're actually being able to achieve these goals using these technologies or not. Okay. So when we start off by assessing an organisation, we look to go through a bit of a quiz, a bit of an understanding or an audit in terms of where is the organisation today. Now, for those of you who can't see the back, what we're looking at here is a data management maturity assessment, a guided set of questions which your organisation would go through in terms of how you handle and manage data. Okay? Now, you go through all of these, and at the end of it, you'll receive an AI transformation assessment rating. You can see here that the overall score here was quite high. They did quite well on data quality, cloud solutions, and there's still a bit of work to be done on AI adoption. Now, we do this across those 4 different pillars that I mentioned before within your organisation, and what this does is it gives you a clear picture of how you're handling data and your data maturity, and it sets the playing field, shall we say, of areas of improvement as well. Many duplicated slides here, so I do apologise for that. So with this being the case, we then go on to look at how we can then start to align this all together. Now, this can all be done, as you can see here, on a glorified Excel spreadsheet. So we're not introducing any other technologies at this moment in time. But what we're looking at the top here is business objectives. Okay? As I mentioned before, the key strategic objectives across your business to achieve. So let's say objective 1 is that 5% net profit increase. Let's say objective 2 is client retention. And let's say objective 3 is to open up a new office in somewhere nice and hot like Dubai. Okay? Then we start to look at how we can correlate data and AI strategic projects with these key business objectives. So in this example, we're looking at enabling self-service analytics, giving the likes of Jane and Steve access to data across an organisation to be able to improve analytics across the organisation. We then give a weighting, with 3 being the highest and 1 being the lowest in terms of how they correlate with each of these objectives. Secondly, creating a reliable single store of data. Okay? How many of you in your organisations currently have a single store of data, whether it's a data warehouse, data lakehouse, or are you still using siloed stores of data across your organisation? Looking at improving data quality across an organisation, okay, we start to give a weighting for this as well. Before finally looking at gain data-driven insights in this example. Now, with each of these weightings, as you'll see, it's also colour-coded, and it starts to give a clear picture across an organisation of where you can find your wins in line with your business objectives at a very high level of the house that we demonstrated. Secondly, we start to look at current and data and AI projects across an organisation that might want to be implemented. Okay? So in here we've just gone from 1 to 10, very generic, but we've also started to give a weighting for each of these different projects in terms of how they will achieve each of these different goals. Now, for those of you that have ever worked inside these type of projects as well, unfortunately, they all come with a cost associated with them. And so we also give a weighting to that cost as well in this scenario, 1 to 3 as well, before looking at how much value it will bring to an organisation by achieving these data projects. Okay? Finally, as you can see on the right-hand side, we end up with a score associated with each of these data projects. Fundamentally, we then look at a priority weighting in terms of when this wants to be achieved, and we start to give each of these projects an estimated budget. Now, what this does is it gives everybody in the organisation a clear picture in terms of what the business is trying to achieve, how data and artificial intelligence can help against these objectives, and then also it starts to look at each of these individual projects and how they can start to build value into the overall picture. And what this does is it makes it very, very easy to get buy-in across a whole organisation from top to bottom. Okay? The reason being is that all of your executives want to achieve these objectives. It's what they're targeted on for the year moving forward. It means that you move forward from a business perspective in adopting data and artificial intelligence with key projects that actually tie directly into these weightings. And it means that you move away from data and artificial intelligence projects. If any of you have been involved in some, you'll notice that some don't actually see the light of day and just end up becoming wasted spend. Before finally going on to agree. Now we start to look at, this is a very simplified version in terms of what a roadmap would look like for your data strategy. Looking at potentially spending the first quarter on discovery. So this is that assessment piece, whereby we start to look at understanding and auditing where we are. Then you might start to look at defining data strategy key metrics across an organisation. Delivering core reports aligned with delivering data governance across your organisation at the same time, before ultimately training your staff and your individuals before moving forward and launching your campaigns. Now also, one key area to point out as well is that by implementing a strategy like this, you take everybody in your business on a journey. Okay? They understand why you're starting to build artificial intelligence. It's not in terms of a replacement for them and what they're trying to achieve, but it's actually helping you and your business to achieve the objectives. And it removes some of that anxiety that we started to mention at the beginning of this session as well. Before finally activating. And by activating, we start to create a data and analytics driving future for your organisation, where you can fundamentally rely on the data that you're receiving to make key decisions in your organisation moving forward. Okay? You'll start to see here that this is all based on architecture, the culture within your organisation, the people within your organisation, and ultimately the investment. When these come together, you'll notice that they start to bring together outcomes, which is what we all want in today's day and age using these technologies. Finally, because I know that I'm very much at time, we'll have a very brief Q&A, but what I would like to leave you with is I've delivered a LinkedIn learning course. So if you have access to LinkedIn Learning within your organisation, you can go and build out a much more detailed data strategy by going through the freely available course and scanning that QR code there. So I'd like to thank you all and then just pause for any questions. No questions. Everybody's ready for another topic. Okay.
One quick question. A lot of people's data will be on a CRM system. So how do you then pull that data out rather than putting it in a CSV file and then import it back in? Are there plugins for things like this to go into things like Salesforce, HubSpot, Act, things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So great question. What you'll find is very CRM dependent. So for example, us being very heavily Microsoft based, Dynamics has a plug and play adapter. We can start to pull data directly out. For other CRMs, so for example, HubSpot that you've mentioned, Salesforce, we have access to APIs as well, so we can start to automate those pipelines. And then it becomes more of a question around the latency that you want to get from your data. So are you just running reporting once a day? Do you, for example, need to look at real-time streams of data coming out of that system? But the goal here is to go directly into those source systems, so it could be not only just CRMs, other applications you have in your organisation, flat files like CSVs, for example, extract that data in automated pipelines, start to conform that data, and then make it readily available across the organisation.
I was going to ask, we started saving a lot of transcripts now from internal meetings, and sales demos sounds obvious, but we started saving them, so I presume we haven't got to the point where we're using them yet, but we're just knowing we're going to want to use them in the future.
Yep, absolutely. So great point made there. If you couldn't quite hear at the back, so sales transcripts. So for example, when you're recording your meetings, if you are Microsoft based, utilising Copilot, for example, what Adrian's mentioned is he's storing those currently for future use. So yes, absolutely, you can do that. You also can store the actual videos themselves within block storage and make them readily available again to artificial intelligence further down the line as well. So that's a great point being made there.
Yeah, we just thought the transcript would be easy to get approval for from the customer. The customer might be funny about like recording their screen, say transcripts and things. The transcript really contains all of the value, I think.
Sorry.
So, yeah, just back on the back of that, how would AI extrapolate specific data from, say, a video or a verbal communication?
Text to speech or speech to text in this scenario. So it depends on how complex you want it to get. So from a transcript perspective, it's very easy because, as you know, with large language models, they rely very heavily on data. With audio, you would extract the speech and the audio to text, so you would be transcribing that directly to the text aspects. With video, you can use computer vision, for example, to start to look at body language, start to extract non-verbal cues from the actual video itself. So depending on how complex you want it to get to it. But again, storing that video today, if you're able to, may open up some of those avenues further down the line.
One other thing we're doing is we're adding like structured questions into that. So the obvious one is like, what are the reasons you're looking at recruitment software? So then we sort of know why people are actually coming into demos from their, and actually maybe when we reflect our marketing back, we actually might be using their terminology as well. So yeah, so just try to just change it up from a general conversation to every demo has a sort of maybe a structured requirement gathering piece at the front.
Exactly, and that's a key point there. I know we're at times going to start to take some of these conversations into the networking break, but just to elaborate on that as well, it's a very key point is you're taking a strategic approach to it. As we went through, if you can tie these back to an objective for a business, so for example, we are surveying and cataloguing these questions because we're going to utilise it to then drive 5% revenue growth based on these different metrics, it starts to give you a very strategic framework and plan you can start to build out and put these actions into everyday use. And I know we're at time, so Andy, I know you've got a question, but we'll take you into the networking break, okay? Thank you very much, everyone.
Back here in 25 minutes. Just before that, pretty great chat. Thank you. So, legal questions, practical, decide legal things like that. I didn't want to I was just about to say yes, you do. Yeah, so bear in mind I know. I have to do the video. Yeah, you're very good. Yes, no, when you first started, you were a lot better now. So
So we have whatever we detail into it, it has to be accurate. And this is the issue. Once you see control, I'm not going to teach you see control, but when you see control, you use it. It's got to be tested rigorously, because you give someone bad information, we would just talk about bad information. Yeah, because at the moment I've still got I'm stuck. Yeah.
You're limping a bit.
Nice to meet you. I think we met before as well. Yeah.
Just say,
It is me.
apparently that's what Yeah, I did. I just asked you to write. That's what this is about. You get more your energy, better
Because I think there's full air coming through. Don't worry.
So they always say, you can get
Just going to get the put a little bit.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
If you get a picture of you on that out here somewhere.
Yeah. Was that helpful so far?
Yours, for me, obviously our business is so strange.
Yeah.
We've got about 20 million.
Yes. Lots of varying different things going on here.
Investment businesses and putting anything anywhere is super dangerous. you learn?
You don't really advertising a lot of that stuff. Apart from the stuff you're doing, like economics.
Yeah, but they're all, that's a business. But then we, venture capital, private equity, family office.
Yes. But it's interesting, I mean, you might want to consider how you can use it for research in terms of strategy for some of these businesses.
There's no doubt.
They're going.
No doubt.
It's probably a very powerful tool for that.
There is no doubt. We are doing. We're at the. We've just started the $20 thing. Literally just. So we feel like we're advancing, but we're miles behind.
But if you're just starting the process, and a lot of the times you're not battling it out on your own, trying to figure it out. Sometimes it's just worth us having a conversation to say, well, this is a bit of a shortcut to get to that bit, without necessarily having to undergo the pain yourself. And it could be, and you start small, you get comfortable with the idea, and you see which one's going to work for you.
I can see marketing.
Massive. I mean, Matthew is doing a bit on marketing now, but you definitely want to listen.
Definitely.
Yeah, you definitely want to listen to this.
We have huge amounts of output.
Yeah. Across all the businesses.
Across all of it. Marketing in the broader sense, so marketing in businesses that we do most of the marketing around investment.
Right.
I know the man's there, so the woman's not bringing you.
Can I get my stuff here?
Yeah, of course you can.
But AI works very well with unstructured data. So it's not really the structure of the data that matters, it's important, it's the quality of the data. Okay? So if you've got a whole bunch of things in a folder, AI doesn't care whether it's in a specific folder structure, like we think. It doesn't matter.
You're going into your filing system, nothing like that.
No, but my filing system is fairly unstructured. It's all just stuff I dump in a location. Okay? And I tell AI, well, learn from that location. The thing is, it's not the structure of the data that's uber important, it's more the quality. If you've got good quality stuff in there, even if it's all muddled up, nobody really cares. Because AI doesn't care about the structure, it cares about the quality. Garbage in, garbage out type of thing. Don't fret about, is it in the right folder or is it in the right thing? It's capable enough of understanding what it is that it's looking at. So it's irrespective of the structure, as long as the quality is good. But that doesn't mean you can't get value out of it. It doesn't mean you can't get value out of it, even if you start somewhere. Well, just learning. Just learning. If there's something, if you can walk away thinking, okay, I've learned something, and then later on you can go, I think I can apply that.
I have learned something. I've learned something called Copilot, which might be interesting. Might be definitely worth it exploring.
And the thing is, have a couple of trial licenses, or have a couple of licenses from 2 or 3 key people. I certainly think whoever's involved in your research, marketing or otherwise, the guys doing your research, absolutely paramount. You want to let them loose on it. And content creators, you want to let them loose on it. If there's only 2 areas you think you want to start with, those 2. Start with the guys doing the research, the guys creating the content, and see how you go. Because that is where the quick wins generally within businesses are. Like where the time saving wins.
gone.
It always can get cold in there. I know, I'm thinking, I remember what now when I moved back home. Oh, you clever person, but there is water, isn't there now? Yeah, I think you go down there. Oh, look.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Martin Lewis-Stevenson. I represent Qoob Media. We were the media partners for this event. We publish Business Times, Business MK, MK Pulse, NN Pulse. Our editor, Andrew, is sat with a purple jumper on just there. We're all about championing local businesses, but we're also about looking at what's going on in the business environment. And of course, AI is a big, big topic. That's why Andrew, our editor, is sat here. He's making some notes, he's going to be reporting on this. And it's also why we feel it's important to support initiatives like this as well. On your seat, you'll find a B2B Expo leaflet we've placed for you, because we also organise business expos around Edinburgh to Northants. Next one's on the 5th of June in Milton Keynes. If you're interested in visiting, there will be seminars taking place at that event as well. Lionel will probably be doing one again. Matt from Qoob will be doing another one as well on marketing, and we'll have other sponsors and contributors taking part as well. So if you're interested in visiting, exhibiting, talk to myself or talk to Don. Just Don, put your hand up, please. I'll be hosting the round of questions at the end, so I just wanted to introduce myself and say thank you very much for coming today. I'm now going to lead on to Matt from Qoob. Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. It's always great to have organisations like Qoob Media help support the event, and also thanks to the venue today as well. So my name's Matthew. I am the Managing Director of Qoob, and we are a digital marketing agency. There's lots of us out there, but I'll tell you a little bit about us, and our background and our experience, and why I think I have, I guess, a semblance of a reason to be talking about AI today. So introductions. We would categorise ourselves as a growth marketing agency, and we typically work with brands looking to go direct to consumer. It does skip a little bit. Direct to consumer, typically via e-commerce channels. So it would be businesses looking to grow their business online, looking to scale their business beyond 7 figures online. Myself, I've been in marketing for 12 years. It's pretty much all I've ever done coming out of college. And one of the reasons I'm here to talk about AI, which you might argue I have no business talking about, because I'm in marketing, right? And we all saw the Gartner survey in the last presentation. You know, I should be the most concerned about my job. And that's somewhat true. I mean, I work with lots of marketing people, and they definitely are. There's definitely that worry there. So I'm hoping I can allay some fears, but I can also talk about what there's marketers that perhaps don't feel quite so negatively about AI, feel more positively about AI, and makes us all feel a little bit better about it. So that's why I'm here. I would sound quite a nerd ordinarily, and in a normal room of people, I would probably be considered a bit of a nerd. But with my other fellow speakers, I'd like to say I'm in a good group of fellow nerds as we talk today. So hopefully, slightly less techie, my talk. So I'll get on with it. So if you've ever seen me talk, there's a couple of familiar faces. I don't do a seminar about anything unless I talk about this first, which is the fundamentals. Because lots of what ends up happening, particularly when we talk about topics like AI, is we all get excited about shiny things. And there are lots of shiny, wonderful things out there at the moment that can really help businesses grow. But I want to just get back to basics a little bit. What do I mean? Well, before we talk about anything AI, anything technology, hands up, have you got a business plan? Has your organisation got a business plan? Okay. Was it updated in the last 12 months? Yes, good. Was it updated in the last 6 months? Do you look at it every day? So my point is here, we did one of these events 12 months ago. Similar speakers, some of the same speakers, and in just that 12 months, we've gone from talking about this thing called AI that, let's face it, people were playing with ChatGPT, creating pictures of cats jumping over the moon and all sorts of clever stuff. But no, it wasn't really useful in a lot of businesses, whereas now we've seen some examples today of some real, tangible uses. So if you've not rewritten your business plan, like lots of business owners don't, since the day they started the business, in the last 12 months, you really need to do it again. You need to reevaluate who your customers are and the problem that you solve, given today's market. You need to have a look at what your business proposition is. And you need to look at, as everyone heard the saying before, strategy before tactics. Okay? So, a lot of what you talk about when you speak with a marketing agency ends up being tactics. It's the things that you do, it's the social posts you put out, it's the email campaigns you put together, it's the content plan, it's the blogs, it's everything else that you're producing. But a lot of people forget, fundamentally, who they're doing it for, what they're doing, why. The why is really, really important, and the whens. And they don't, at the start, decide how they're going to measure that success. So again, you saw on the previous presentation, sort of vision, mission, and then you get down to the bottom, measures. These are all fundamental business things that we need to do, regardless of your AI strategy. So what does that mean in practice in the world of marketing? It means these 6 things you have to do. So if you walk away from today and you can't confidently tick each one of these 6 things, don't start worrying about AI, now you're going to implement it in your business. Start here, because it will help you, 100% it will help you identify. So I just saw some nudging there. But no, 100%, go back, do your market research. Pestle, if you have never heard of Pestle, now's the time to learn about it. Politics, economics, society, what's going on in the world around your little or medium or large business. Really, really crucial, more now than ever. Positioning, the why, the what, and the how. The differences between messaging are often lost. People think that, what you put out in your blog post is your message. It's not, it's the copy. It should carry the message. The message is more fundamental than that, and normally can be distilled down into a sentence or two. Why? Why are we communicating? What do we want to say? Audiences, who are you targeting and why? Work out those demographics, work out what your customer persona actually is. You probably have several of them. You need to understand down to the level of detail of what they're interested in. Where do they hang out? How do they make decisions? What role are they in? You need to know that before you get to your tactics. Budgeting and resource. Number of times I go into a business, how much do you spend on marketing? Don't know. How much do you think you should be spending on marketing? Don't know. You tell me how much it's going to cost, Matt, and then I'll let you know if we can afford it. Or I'll let you know if that works for my numbers. Start the other way around. What do you want to achieve? Work backwards from there. What's it going to take to invest in getting there? And then what does actually success look like, more importantly? What do you expect that marketing spend to do for you? Because that will help you with picking channels that you're going to invest in. And then measurement and optimization, because if you don't set out from the start what good looks like, or what success looks like, you will forever be a busy fool, and you'll try a bit of that, that didn't work, we'll try a little bit of that. Let's jump on TikTok for 2 weeks, because someone said it would be good, or a competitor's doing it. Love that one. So, really, really crucial you do all of this, and don't do this stuff, right? So this is my big red label word of warning before we get into the nice, cool, funky AI stuff. Please, 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 there's a tendency now more than ever to jump on the next big thing, the next shiny thing, and AI has the potential to be really, really powerful for lots of us, but you'll probably find it's a subset of really specific use case where you start with the problem first, and AI is part of the solution. Right, now, so that can be summarised as strategy, plan, execute, measure, refine. What's the difference between a strategy and a plan? Does anybody want to give me that? Because often those words are used interchangeably. Strategy. Sorry?
One's an idea, the other one's executing.
That's a really good way of looking at it. So, strategy, typically, you could summarize a strategy on one side of A4, right? It's going through those why, what's, when's to who, right? What are we trying to say? Who are we trying to say it to? What do we expect to achieve? That's your strategy. People often confuse that with a plan. A plan is probably, I mean, some people use Excel, but these days we use sort of project management tools, things like Asana, ClickUp, that sort of good stuff, where you actually plan out what you're going to do. Then you get to execution, you measure it, refine, and you go back to your strategy. That's the cycle. That's never changed. That has never changed in the history of marketing, long before I was born. That's the way it should be done. And it's never going to change moving forwards, whether my role exists in its current format or not. That is still the fundamental way of approaching marketing. All underpinned by purpose, why you exist. Why did you, if you're a business owner, why did you start a business in the first place? What do you stand for? What do you want your organisation to stand for? What's the difference you want to make in the world? So, AI. Right, now what we're actually here to talk about today. So, what is AI? Anyone want to volunteer a quick answer? What is AI?
Artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence, right, okay. So this is the dictionary definition of AI. The theory and development of computer systems, water, able to perform tasks normally requiring human intelligence such as visual perception, speech recognition, decision making and translation between languages. Not that sexy, really. It's not. I mean, really, AI is old news. It's not new. I mean, in its very earliest forms, people have been using it since the 50s. The first, like I said, the commonly accepted first iteration of AI technology was built to play a game of checkers. You know, that's where it started back in the 50s. So what's changed now, or why are we all of a sudden, in 2025, talking about AI? Why are we all here? Why have we all bothered to come along today? Why is it so topical? And how are we, in marketing specifically, adapting? Well, the reason being is, I mean, if we go back to 1952, that's the Checkers program, built by an IBM computer scientists. We're talking about machine learning. That's kind of where this all came from. And we kind of learned in Leon's talk that AI is like the brain, really, for data. A lot of that data was collected, really, to help teach machines stuff, so that we could get something useful out of it. Here's some of the applications for the different types of learning that machine learning is responsible for. From looking at how long people are expected to live for. You know, we all know about life expectancy, although the year is changing. How long we're expected to live for is changing all the time. That's all fundamentally based on machine learning. Weather forecasting, still can't get it right, but the principle's still there. It's all powered by machine learning and data at its core. So stepping forward from machine learning, this is the reason why we're all talking about AI. So when we say AI, and the reason I ask the question, is that this is often what people are actually talking about. We talk about generative AI. Generative AI, in a nutshell. Anybody want a one-line explanation of what generative AI is? It's generating something, exactly, it's in the name. So it's generating something. You're creating something out of nothing, in theory. But you're not really. You're creating something out of a whole bank of data that's come before. This wheel, I know it's not the last time you're going to see this wheel, so I won't dwell on it too much. These are all the different applications. I mean, you can probably at the back, you probably can't even make out the logos. And this is just like a tiny snapshot of all of the AI, generative AI tools that exist out there. I've forgotten the number, but it was in the thousands of AI tools were launched in the months preceding ChatGPT. I'd be surprised if it's not in the hundreds of thousands by now. Across a myriad of different types. So that could be text to, I mean, it started off text to text. ChatGPT is what you would classically call text to text originally. You put text in, you get text back. Then they went sort of multimodal, which is what they are now, where you can put text in, you can put video in, you can put data spreadsheets in, you can put all sorts back, and it can give you back a lot more. So the capability and complexity of generative AI has increased. And now, what are we seeing? Probably in the last 6 to 12 months specifically, since the last talk. All of the big SaaS applications, software as a service applications that we all pay subscriptions for. And most businesses, if not all, will have something of this kind. Whether it be your accounts package, or your payroll software, or your HR software, or the day-to-day tools you use like Slack, or your CRM. They have all now, if they're not already, they're working on integrating AI technology into their existing product. 67% of them, and I think that's probably out of date, to be honest, have started integrating them. That's why we're all talking about it, and that's why we're talking. That's why I called the seminar the AI-powered marketing era, because everything is AI-powered now. Everything is having an element of AI woven into it, and we need to understand that that's the landscape with which we operate. Because if people could ignore ChatGPT a year ago, they're not going to ignore an AI assistant sat in their Slack. They're not going to ignore it sat in Word doc. They're not going to ignore it. They're going to, your users, your employees, if you've got employees, your colleagues, your competitors are all going to be using it. It's there at their fingertips, ingrained in the tools they're already using. It's so accessible. And then, what's happened now? The two leading smartphone brands come out with their own bit of negative press recently on Apple Intelligence, showing you how it can't, sometimes it can go wrong. But this is now accessible on people's devices. Whether they're taking photos with their friends, or they're posting on social media, or they're texting their partner. AI is now starting to infiltrate that experience. It's going to become not just something that's cool and trendy, but something that we rely on a day-to-day basis. That's the transition happening now, and arguably has been happening for some months. So I want you to think, in the world of marketing, just think about a recent purchase you made. Person. Anybody want to share something you bought? I'm getting my kitchen done at the moment. Costs a fortune. Naturally costs 30% more than it was ever supposed to cost. Gareth?
Costume for World Book Day.
Costume. Right. What I want you to do is to very quickly, when you made your purchase, this is a thought experiment. If you want to get your phone out, please do. I know the internet's terrible, otherwise my planned demo was everybody would do a bit of Googling with me. But I know the internet's not great, so we'll try and work through it. But Gareth, when you were looking for a costume, how did you make your decision? Where did you start? Was it for you?
Yeah, no, it wasn't for me. Yes, it was. I'll keep that bit to the side. That's private. So yeah, it was for my son.
Okay, right. So where did you start?
So I went straight into Google off my phone.
Yep. I just said that because the rest of this wouldn't work.
Yeah. And I put in World Book Day costumes UK. Right. That's what I put.
So at that point, you're not looking to make a purchase, right? In that moment, are you?
No.
You're looking for ideas, perhaps?
Yeah.
Suggestions?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, arguably, you could have gone to ChatGPT and it would have been solved in 10 minutes, and you would have had 1,000 ideas. No, but my point is that often when we go out and make a purchase, we don't start off going, I'm going to go and buy something now. You go off exploring. And this is where I think ChatGPT is going to go, or that sort of experience where you're chatting with an assistant, or what feels more like a PA than Google. But our experience, our learned behaviour right now is to go to Google and search for stuff. What other things might influence your purchasing behaviour? We talked about going out and finding stuff. What else might influence your purchasing behaviour? Reviews, yeah, it's a brilliant one. Ads?
Ads on,
yeah, ads. And what you often see, and these are actually flipped the wrong way around for us marketers, because we look at it the other way. Right, we talk about outbound as what we're sending out of the organisation, and inbound versus what's coming towards us, right? So people searching. But I flip them around to look at it from your buyer's perspective. If you're looking for something, chances are you probably start somewhere over here. You'll do a little Google search. then you'll go on somebody's website, you end up in their remarketing funnel, so you start getting ads showing up, promoting particular products or things that you're interested in. You might then start subconsciously noticing things that you hadn't noticed before, like the television adverts for that product. Particularly if it's a big purchase, it might take you months to make that decision, right? So these things are all going on around you. You're either going out trying to find things, you're speaking to people, getting referrals, reading reviews. All of these things is the mess that is your brain trying to make a decision. I'm going to focus in just on ads and Google, because it's something that we all know, and we've all used a Google, right? We've all done it, right? We just had an example there. So this is where we would have Googled together, but I'm going to cheat a little bit and show you some screenshots instead. So let's imagine I'm looking for a marketing agency. Makes sense? What might I come across during my search experience? I might, who the heck is Qoob? I might look at reviews for different agencies. I might look for justifications why I should work with that particular agency. I might look at ads for competitors, look at their Google My Business profile. All of this is going on in Google. And what's happening now? Well, 2012, I was 9. That's what Google looked like. And in fact, if we didn't have it cropped here, you'd probably see some ads going down the right-hand side if you remember 2012 Google. That's what we have now. So the first thing that is often coming up, except for really explicit buying intent searches, which I'll come back to, is an AI overview. Where's this data coming from? That's coming from people's websites, right? So hands up if anybody does SEO or knows of SEO. Yeah, it's being done somewhere in your organisation, probably by the marketing guys or marketing people. Sorry. A lot of SEOs historically would write content so that people searching for digital marketing trends, their article would show at the top of the list. Top 10 digital marketing trends. Top 10 reasons people buy from an agency. 10 best ways to show at the top of Google search results, ironically. Yeah, those are the sorts of pieces of content that were written by hundreds of marketers that have come before. And it's relevant in every single one of your industries, I can guarantee you. Somebody has done it. Somebody's write a how-to or a top 10 or something like that because they want to rank for this sort of search term. Now Google's taken that market share away, taken that traffic away from you. Because this is a summarization of not just your content, but an aggregate of lots of people's content, summarized, so you don't even have to go any further than that. So you can see how that might start influencing search strategies. Right? Should you really be spending loads of time, money, resources, writing the top 10 of?
On that basis, is there any understanding of how Google decides what's...
So we were chatting earlier about AI SEO. Is it such a thing? I think the jury's out at the moment. The problem is that we don't get to see under the hood, right? So anybody that tells you they know exactly how you can show up in here, they're lying to you, they are lying to you. Nobody knows, right? Because it's been done by an AI. It's not a human being that's made that decision. That's an AI that's made that decision. So just be really, really cautious, and you have to ask yourself, what's the value? Let's face it, are you clicking on these citations on the right-hand side, or are you reading the content that's there? Right now we're in a transition stage. People might be tempted to read the content. I expect to see that disappear away, because I think this is going to get more and more accurate. It'll become less of an experiment, more of the norm, right? So that right there, in something we do every single day, is AI powered. Right, it's there. So my point is, we are already in the AI-powered marketing era. The number of businesses, how long have I got left? 10. Oh, great. We're already in that era, right? It's not a mystical thing down the line. It's happening right now. It is affecting how people are making decisions today. I think there was a stat, get to the next slide, 60% last year, 2024, of searches ended without a click. That's job done. Gareth's already found out which costume he's buying. to make that decision, right? What I'm seeing happening is, and again, I don't have any data or facts to back this up, so you're just going to have to trust me, is that generally speaking, the sorts of search terms Gareth mentioned, like ideas for, that's where generative AI is kind of coming into play. That's where Google's trying to help the user make a decision as quickly as it possibly can, trying to influence that decision. But you've got to look at it from Google's angle. There's nothing in it for Google. Where do they make money? Advertising, right? So guess what that does? That then generates a search term. What did you go for?
Well, when I searched.
Yeah, what character?
I bought the Joker because he's a
The Joker, right? I've now made the decision that I'm going to buy a Joker costume, right? The most general of terms would be, where could I buy a Joker costume for my 11-year-old? 10-year-old, I'm going to get the age wrong now.
5-year-old.
5-year-old, my 5-year-old, right? That's a much higher intent search. Much, much higher intent. Guess what? Google's going to start showing shopping results now. It's going to start showing adverts. That's where Google make their money. So if you aren't advertising on Google, which many businesses make a conscious decision not to do so, and arguably, if they had SEO, historically that's worked really, really well for them, you could understand that viewpoint. Why would I pay for something I get for free? I think we need to start thinking again, go back to your strategy, because the world is changing. Google know they have to continue keeping that source of revenue. They know that advertising is a way to monetize their platform. They're not going to get rid of ads. But what they can do is they can use AI to help you make that decision faster. And then the cost of advertising starts to go up. As more people start advertising, the cost per click goes up. And that's what we're seeing play out right now in real time. The competition for advertising is increasing. We're seeing less overall searches result in clicks onto websites. And this was 2024's data, so it'd be interesting to see what 2025 looks like. So it's already influencing buying decisions, and that's really the point I wanted to get across today. There's no point, we're seeing now AI powered this, AI enhanced is another one. Things roll out in the day-to-day. But that's not like 6 months down the line product roadmap. This is already happening. And the reason why marketers, the reason I'm here talking about AI, is whether we're fortunate or cursed, I don't really know. Haven't quite worked that out yet. Marketers were kind of the first to know. And the reason why marketers were the first to know is that the capabilities of that generative AI, very early doors, ChatGPT wasn't one, it was 3.3, 3.5, Turbo was the one that really kind of went a bit crazy. The best thing it could do was spew out a bit of content. Okay content, at best. But it was helpful, it was helpful to marketers. That's why people like me went, hang on a minute, what is this thing that could help me do my job more efficiently? That's really exciting. That's why marketers are at the forefront of this, because it's touching the things that we use on a day-to-day basis. But as you saw from that big wheel, it's going to start touching more and more and more. I think, Leon, that oil spill was not a genuine photo, I imagine.
That's correct.
Yeah, that was generated by AI. So it's touching the things that we do on a day-to-day basis, but you can see through Google search that it's now starting to affect how you make a purchase decision. And that's going to keep accelerating. So if that's the case, and I'm sorry there's a bit of doom and gloom in there as well, thank you, where should you start? And I'll go back to my first couple of slides. Do the fundamentals. If you haven't proactively gone through that process of had one of those, gone out of the office, spent 2 days, sat down with your senior leadership team and tried to work out a strategy, if you haven't done that in the last year, you need to be doing it. You really need to go back to what your fundamentals, your vision, your mission, your strategy for growing the business, where you think you're going to be in 5 years' time, 3 years' time. So start there. I would say work with an agency, I run one. Why am I saying work with an agency? Well, I mean, today's hopefully giving you a bit of a view as to what's going on in the marketplace and the pace of change that exists. I run a marketing agency. We have 11 people that do marketing all day, every day, and we can't keep up. With the best will in the world, if you are not living and breathing the marketing industry day to day right now, you are out of touch, and I'm sorry, but you are, with what's happening. Particularly the tactics, the other end of the spectrum. The doing. It's all changing. You should be working with an agency that's going to partner with you and to go on that journey with you. They won't have all the answers because nobody does. And as I said, anybody that tells you they can say with confidence that this is going to happen, then I'd be questioning how they know that. So, you're going to need to adapt, therefore work with an agency that can help you on that journey. If you haven't explored Google Ads, or if you explored it a long time ago, I would 100% encourage people to do it and see if it works for you. You can run it as an experiment or a trial if you need to. But given what I said about organic and how we're seeing that change, and the strategies are evolving all the time on that, and you know, AI, SEO, if that's what we're going to call it, is an evolving thing in and of itself. I would be looking at Google Ads. Interestingly, Google Ads, 2 years ago, pre-ChatGPT, 2.5 years ago, pre sort of like the blow up of ChatGPT, brought out a product called Performance Max, which was their AI-powered tool for Google advertising. The idea is to flip the marketer's role on its head, rather than putting in, this is what my customer looks like, this is what they're interested in, these are the USPs, these are the pieces of text that I want you to use, and dictating what showed up in the search results. Performance Max flips it on its head, and it says, instead, Google wants from you, what does a conversion look like? That might be, we've just made a sale, and it was £100. Have that piece of information, Google. And then you'll give it a bunch of assets. You'll go, these are some really good images, these are some really important bite-sized bullet point details about our business. Go forth and prosper. And Google does all of the work. Now, it still needs a human being to interpret those results, manage the advertising, and oversee it. But it is getting into that sort of black box territory of like, we give it the inputs and the outputs, and it works it out for itself. It tries to find a customer that's likely to convert. Very, very different way of doing Google advertising to the traditional way. So worth having a look. If you haven't looked at Google Ads in the last 2.5 years, you might want to have another look. Reassess your organic search strategy for all the reasons I've mentioned already. If you're talking about SEO, you have an SEO agency or a person doing SEO, make sure that they are up to scratch with what's going on in the industry. Stop pumping out crap. In a world of ChatGPT and such, the temptation is to go, write me a blog post, write me a social media post, and I'm not saying marketing people are lazy, but they're often in a lot of demand. And I know there's a couple in the room, they get pulled from left, right, and centre all the time. Time is precious. So what can often happen is they can cut corners, and it's really, really important that people stop doing that. If you want to be effective in your marketing, less is more. Spend 5 times as long producing one piece of content than 5 times less to produce 5. It's just not going to help you. It's not going to help achieve your objectives. Look for pain points in your customer journey and see if AI can be part of the solution. This is a broad marketing way of saying, look for problems, not solutions. Try to find the problems in that customer journey, the things that your customers get frustrated by, and use AI to sort that. Don't do it the other way around and go, how can I use AI to make my customer experience better? Start with, what problems are they facing, and is AI part of the solution? Build credibility in a world of content going mad, and I think 70% of content on the internet by 2026 is going to be AI generated. That's quite scary, given how big the internet is. That's a hell of a lot of content that's been pumped out by generative AI. Things like reviews, which are social proof, i.e. that's a genuine review that I can trust, hugely valuable and going to exponentially increase in value. If you've got strong reviews and a strong profile around you, you stand that test of trust and authority. Have a bit of fun with it as well. So I might be a bit intense at parts of this, but marketing is fun. It can be really interesting, and more now than ever, because the world of marketing is changing at such a fast pace. If you can enjoy it, go with it. Horizon scanning. This is my last slide. Just some of the things that in marketing, but also in the wider world, we all just need to be aware of. AI is incredible and terrifying in equal measure to some people. But this is all arising in a world where other things are changing as well, right? It's not just AI. It's actually AI in the context of quantum computing. I don't know if people have been following the new quantum chips that are coming out, basically with the processing power to be able to do something that a traditional computer would take decades or years to do, it can do within a few minutes. So the processing power is going to go through the roof. Now this isn't going to become massively available for a very long time, I don't think. But for specific use cases, for crunching huge volumes of data as an example, it could really change the landscape. Quantum computing is huge. Blockchain, everyone's heard of crypto by now, I'm sure. But crypto is built on blockchain technology. It's more than just coins. Blockchains could be used for contracts, all sorts of clever stuff that could be useful, and it's something that is on the rise across sectors. Internet of Things, IoT, you can't buy these days a washing machine or a dishwasher at a reasonable sort of end price range without it coming with some smart component, right? An app that you can control it with. Because I'm a nerd, pretty much everything in my house is an IoT device. The latest Samsung TV, the latest Samsung fridge with a screen on the front. I'm an early adopter, right? I totally accept that. But IoT devices are real. They're out there now. You can get your hands on lots and lots of smart home tech beyond just a Google Home or a Nest smart speaker. So again, that's something that's happening and will influence consumer behaviour. Robotics. I don't know if everybody's kept up with Tesla Bot, which promises, it's Elon Musk, so he said it was going to be done by the end of the year, probably about 2-3 years away, that everybody could have a robot in their house, and there's real life robots that actually exist that walk around, humanoid robots, that can do ironing and all sorts of clever stuff. Who knows, we might all have one of those in our house in 2-3 years' time. How's that going to change how people work, alongside AI and other things? And cyber security. I was chatting with somebody earlier that's in the cybersecurity space. That's an evolving beast at the same time as all the positive things from technology. Cybersecurity is also a risk that's increasing over time as well. So for everything good, there's somebody out there trying to utilize that technology for something better. And then in digital marketing, we're seeing lots of kind of trends, I guess, filtering through. Hyper-personalization is a big one. People want experiences. They want that, it's that concept of immersion, things like VR headsets and that sort of stuff. It'd be interesting to see what digital marketing do with that moving forward. And lastly, if you can end on anything, it's probably this one, ethics and privacy. In a world where everything's becoming AI generated, be authentic, be yourself, care about people's privacy. Because that on its own, there, having an awareness that your customers care about their privacy, means that you're already approaching strategy from the right end because you're thinking about your customers, you're thinking about what they want. Cookies, there's no excuse really to be loading cookies on your website without consent, as an example. It's not great for marketers, but it's what consumers want, and that's ultimately what matters. I love a meme, so that kind of sums it up. You guys in the room, you're here because you want to learn about AI. You want to understand the opportunities, threats. Be the ones to go out there and lead the change, take on board the things you've learned today. Hopefully it's been useful to you. If you want to chat with me about marketing and AI and marketing, I'll stick around at the end for the next talk. All good, thank you.
you guys doing? You want to stand up have a quick stretch for a second, or are you guys ready for the last 30 minutes of this? Nobody wants to? Brilliant. So, my name is Andy Paul. I wanted to say firstly thank you to MKU, Lionel, Leon, Martin and Matt as well as our partners. We couldn't have done this without you guys obviously showing up, but these guys are spending all this time in planning. It's a lot of work just to pull off this event, so I just want to say thank you to everybody that's been involved in that. So my name's Andy. I am the founder and CEO of Fliweel.tech. We've been around for a couple of years, and today I'll be talking to you about AI agents for every business. So I'll go through a little bit about what we do as an organisation, a little bit about ChatGPT, maturity of AI, and the business impact. We'll kind of explain a little bit about what AI is, some use cases, the future of AI, specifically on the topic of AI agents. And then we'll kind of wrap up there in terms of Q&A. So just a little bit about me specifically. So I have a background in maths and computer science. That's what I studied at university. I've been in the field of data science and consulting for about, I should update that, for about 14 years now. I've spent time in London, 6 years in San Francisco, consulting to technology companies, as well as the banking sector and startups. There are 4 kind of key areas that we really focus on. This is AI strategy and implementation, RPA, or robotic process automation, it's all about rule-based workflows, integration of systems, and this topic of AI agents. So, moving on. ChatGPT, we've all heard of it. Can I just ask, ChatGPT or a large language model, I think we haven't asked this question today, but who has used ChatGPT or Copilot or equivalent? Fantastic. And then those who have not, keep your hands up. Fantastic. So we've got 100% of the room pretty much use ChatGPT. But the reason I bring up this topic, and you may have seen this in one of my presentations before, because I recognize you from attending some of them, is ChatGPT as a product made the mark in technology history. And what I mean by that is, on this chart here we have a number of different applications. So at the bottom, Netflix, which took around 12 to 1300 days to reach 1 million users. And then we see Facebook about 400 days to reach 100 users. But ChatGPT took 5 days to reach 1 million users. It's the most adopted technology in history, right? Fastest adopted technology in history. And as a result, you and I are looking at, what the heck is this? What does this mean for me? What does it mean for our business? And how can I use it to either plan my life outside of work, maybe, how to plan my holiday, figure out how I should talk to that my partner, and how I can convince her to cook dinner for me and how to cook it, or even through your business in terms of marketing or data analytics or writing a blog and things of that nature. So I think we've all figured out how to use the prompt base, the window of ChatGPT or the equivalent tool. There's tons of tools out there, but my focus is ChatGPT because of the headlines it made a couple of years ago. So what is AI? And I think we've talked about it a little bit more, but in previous conversations. But AI spans a number of different areas. So the most simplest is robotic process automation. And so this is not technically AI. This is the least smartest, let's just say. So if you've played with tools like Microsoft Power Automate, Zapier, Make.com, and a number of Blue Prism, there's a number of workflow tools that really kind of help you do if this, then that. If I get an email with some data in it, drop it into a database and save it, and that repetitive task is almost fixed. So it's the least smartest, but then there's kind of 4 other categories here. Speech recognition, which is in the context of, let's say, Siri, command control, transcription services, maybe in Teams you may record and transcribe, in vision recognition, security authentication, so Face ID on your iPhone, data science, this is a more holistic or cluster of different areas, and this is really around the topic of predictive analytics. So let's say you want to predict the chance of somebody leaving your organization. What's the likelihood? Or what's the likelihood that somebody's going to buy that product or service from you? So you can use data to really make predictions on that, and hopefully good quality data and good data foundations around that. And then the last topic is generative AI. So generative AI is the topic that we all are familiar with. ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini, a number of these tools in the marketplace right now that offer generative AI. And so in the space of what that offers is content creation. We talked about multimodal, so text, video, imagery, and an area which is quite new and close to my heart, which is voice. We'll get a little bit more, talk a little bit more about that as well. So this is all really, kind of what I understand and what we kind of started to understand, hopefully simplified categories of what artificial intelligence is. So the wheel that you saw on that slide is actually here as well, and this is just to kind of illustrate, as a business, where can I use generative AI? And the spokes on the outer, the rim of this wheel really talks about which kind of mode or format you can use AI in. So we have text, video, image, code, speech, 3D, and research. And so with that, you can use it in multiple areas, multiple formats. And then the spokes are marketing, sales, knowledge, image generation, design, code, voice, 3D models. So, across from a functional standpoint in your business, in your organization, you've got this kind of massive range of products and tools in the marketplace that have blown up in the last several months to see where it actually can be applied. So there's a lot of opportunity there. But I think one of the themes, the content themes you've seen and heard today is don't spend the money on the shiny thing, start with your business problem first. And that's kind of a theme that we should always think about when we look to what these wonderful tools is. What is the business problem that you actually have? Start from them, and then think about the tool, whether it is ChatGPT or equivalent tool, or one that is very hyper-focused on a specific use case that's outlined here. So I want to talk a little bit more and get a little bit closer to use cases, because I think we need to really understand what this stuff means. There's a lot of content that we can kind of tell you hypothetically, but in the context of where can it be used in our businesses today, we can see in customer support, we can use it to automate common customer inquiries and provide some accurate information based on a knowledge base that we talked about, or provide that quick response. Document drafting, so in the context of writing reports, maybe a proposal, maybe an email, that's an obvious area as well. In data entry and management of data, you can automate the entry of data, you can process data, you can feed it, you can summarize it, and we saw some of that today as well. Inventory management, to measuring and monitoring stock. HR support, drafting job descriptions, screen resumes. I'm pointing at you now because we have a person in the room focused in that area. Financial analysis, so this is really around looking at data to make trends on financial data. Training and onboarding, which is how do we build out of proper training material, answer questions, build onboarding processes, and then customer insights. So how do you analyze data based on customer activity? So these are 8 very quick, and hopefully tangible areas where today businesses are using AI to really focus on use case. So this focus on use case, this focus on business problem is super important, not the tools first, and that's the way we should be thinking about this. And with that comes with an obvious area around risk, right? So we've all seen inaccurate feedback come out from a ChatGPT or a Copilot or equivalent large language model. So it's really important in your role as a human to check those outputs. So ensuring that the information is reviewed or what we call human in the loop is always part of your process. Lack of personal touch. I'm sure you're seeing really badly or obviously artificially generated blog articles, artificially generated LinkedIn posts, a lot of emojis, a lot of keywords that you can clearly see that person did not write that thing. And so that personal touch is really important, and that tone, that grammar, the way that you spell, not US spelling, but UK spelling, is also thought through when you're using these tools. Over-reliance on AI is a massive problem right now. So we are fundamentally creatures of habit, and if we find that AI is going to just replace our jobs, and actually that's a lie, we still have a very important responsibility to ensure that we continually monitor those outputs. Data privacy, this is a massive area of concern, and understandably, I think there's models out there that are actually available so that you can put it on premises or in a secure place, or there are open models as well where you can use cloud-based services. And being aware of the data privacy agreements that these models are using, ensuring it's compliant with GDPR practices is a very important area when you use these tools. And actually the sensitive data that you're using, are you actually putting it into these models, or are you mindful of the risks there and where the data could be going? And an unintentional bias. So I talk about this quite a lot in my presentations, but the reality is that a lot of the models we're using today are very US-centric. And so that's why we see a lot of US-based spelling, US-based terms and choices of explaining things, because the models are fundamentally US-based, and therefore we have a bias on certain outputs. And being aware of the bias in the models that you're using underneath it are super important. I think there's going to be an area where we start seeing more diversification or diversity in models, as we start to see a model in the US, a model in China, a model in the Middle East, right? And being aware of those and the great things and the not so great things when we think about geopolitics and very sensitive topics, that you're aware of the biases involved and based on the models that you're using. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about asking certain questions and some of the outputs that could come from it. So I'm pretty excited about this topic, and this is where I think is the sort of next milestone within AI, and this is what we call AI agents. So what is an AI agent? And we've seen a demo of a use case there of an AI agent. But just to kind of describe what it is, we figured out in ChatGPT, we figured out in a Copilot or a Gemini how we can actually ask prompts and we get information out of it. Now what an agent does is it actually takes information and it can carry out multiple steps after you get that output. So it achieves a specific goal and then often automates that process that would normally be require significant demand from the time and effort done by a human. So AI agents, I believe, and we're starting to see the automation of a lot of multi-step processes in the organization. It's also got the ability to customize and be very flexible in the process that you have. And again, this comes back to what is your process, what is your organizational problem in those use cases, but not just look at it as a ChatGPT window or a Copilot window, but what happens with that information, where does that go, which data set does it sit in, which CRM does it go into, or where does that file or email land beyond the chat window that you have. And that's what AI agents are here to serve. So we're going to click into that a little bit more and to understanding where this can be applied. The ability of AI agents, we've got kind of 5 or 6 areas, where what it can offer in terms of its characteristics. So we've got autonomy, right? This ability to operate independently. So it's on 24 hours. You've got the ability for it to be goal-oriented. So if you specify what it needs to do, it will focus on that task and then optimize based on those actions and outcomes. It can interact with the environment it's in. So, it will adapt because we have AI that can just understand context. It will continually get smarter with that context you have. And then, of course, learn based on the information that's been given. And then workflow optimization. So, like I said, there may be a multi-step process in your organization, in a HR process, a sales process. So it will try to understand that process, link those, create reasoning, planning, and decision making around that multi-step agent, multiple workflow and process. And then multi-agents are really around the communication between different agents. So now you can build an agent that can talk to another AI agent, that can talk to another AI agent. And that is the world we're getting into, where we're relying on digital workers, and this notion of AI agents is becoming closer and closer into the organization. Sounds a little bit scary, sounds a little bit futuristic, but you know, organizations are starting to trial and pilot these and start to deploy these. And I'm seeing kind of like some reactions like, WTF, this is pretty crazy. But the reality is, you know, we're going that way, and I'll kind of bring this to life even more. So I'm going to give you an example. I'll give you 3 examples. Let's take LinkedIn content creation. Very simple, hopefully to understand, because I think most of us are using LinkedIn. So we've got 2 agents here. One agent is the content creation agent, and then we have the other agent, which is the performance monitoring agent. So the first one is, all right, let's transcribe and extract. So the user provides an AI agent with a YouTube URL, right? So here's some content about a certain topic. And then asks, well, what exactly would you like to take from this content? Do you want us to write a post that is educational, maybe a spicy take, maybe a headlog post, you know, the ones that you just write very succinct post about a certain topic. And so the AI agent will go away, it will look at the video, it will transcribe it, and it will then create several drafts of, you know, what to write about it. And then you have the ability to you know, look at the quotes, look at the takeaways and the calls to action, and then you decide whether, you know, you'd like to post that. So it's done multiple steps there in that it's gone to YouTube, it's transcribed it, it's kind of taken your instructions and then created a draft post for you to then finally sign it off. And remember, human in the loop, right? So it's always there for you to review before you hit that post. Of course you can post it and ask the AI agent to post it, but you know, that's entirely up to, you know, your risk appetite ultimately, and how smart the agent is. The second agent is a performance monitoring agent. So imagine now you've posted a bunch of things on LinkedIn. You want to track the performance of those posts, right? Because we all want engagement, we all want likes, we all want comments to promote our businesses. So the AI agent is post tracks the performance, and it compares the performance to different posts, and then comes back to you and provides feedback and iteration on that. And so the idea here is, you know, it's going to tell you, actually, look, Andy, we've seen that this post has performed better than the other ones, and this is why we think it's important for you to start drafting more posts. And so it then would go back to content creation and improve that. And so this is the world that we're getting into, is like very, very focused, use case driven AI agents to do these types of tasks. Now I'll get into one where I'll actually show you a live demo of a multi-agent system, so the AI receptionist. So this is embedding multiple, you know, a 5-step process, a call assistant. So you've got a, you know, you've got you know, some information around the numbers. You've got a qualified assistant. You've got time checking. You've got book meetings, and then you've got the email system. So the idea here is, in the context of voice agents, you can take inbound calls. The agent will answer, feel like a human. It'll integrate. It'll answer your common inquiries, and then it will say, "Would you like to book an appointment?" And the idea here is that, you know, you can integrate with your calendar. It will offer up some times, send you an email, and then even go beyond. And even if you're taking payments, it will even take payment. So what we're going to show you, and hopefully my demo will work, is a live demo of an AI agent, basically integrating all of those steps for the for a calendar integration, a payment, and also being able to respond to those calls. So this is demo time. I'm going to call this, because we've set this up quite literally on the phone. So this is the context. This is a dental practice.
Yeah, not real. Can you hear me? Hello? Okay. Yeah, this does sound like a robot here. AI myself. So I'm going to call, and then hopefully you guys can hear this.
Hello, you're speaking to a Jane at London Dental Practice. May I know your name?
Hi, it's Andy.
Nice to meet you, Andy.
No, it's not Andy. It's actually Matt.
Got it, Matt. How can I help you today?
Can I? What services do you offer?
We offer services like crowns and bridges, Invisalign, hygienist appointments.
How much is your Invisalign?
Invisalign pricing depends on the complexity of the case. It usually starts around £3,0000. Would you like to book a consultation to get a more accurate quote?
Yeah. What availability do you have for tomorrow?
Sure. What's your time is it?
GMT.
I'm looking at the calendar. Just a moment longer, okay?
Okay.
Are you still with me?
Yep.
Great. We have an available slot tomorrow at 10 a.m. GMT.
Have you got one later than that?
Let me check. Unfortunately, there aren't any later slots tomorrow.
Okay. Could I go with 10 a.m.?
Perfect. Let's go ahead and book that 10 a.m. slot for you. Could you please provide your email address?
Yep. I'm going to cut it off there because we're short for time. The idea is it will take you through the booking process. It will take your email. It will take a payment, a secure payment. It's not taking any card details. It will be an email confirmation payment. It will send a calendar invite, and it will book the appointment based on payment. So this is the world we're going towards. Is that feels like an almost somewhat human experience, and that is that's a generative AI model, fully integrated in all of those sections.
Could you go back to your slide before, just so that we can understand? So is it a different agent doing each step?
Yes. So we've got agents that are doing bookings. We've got agents that are doing payments, and then confirmation. So these are specific tasks that are very narrow to the use case.
So the voice be heard is all in the call system, and then
that kind of sits over it, but yeah, this is kind of showing the flow.
Yeah, no, thank you.
The idea is, you've got multiple software products there. You've got a calendar, you've got a phone, you've got spreadsheets, you've got payments, and it's integrating that whole thing into one use case, which is booking appointments for a business. And so I'll wrap up now. That's kind of a quick demo of this product that we've just launched, come out of a client conversation we had, and now it's one of our products. But that hopefully brings it to life. I'll wrap this up because I think we're short for time. Why should SMEs pay attention? Well, we've moved to a place now where it's actually quite affordable, which is good to hear. It can feel very expensive. The obvious aspect is cost savings, just in that example. You can see the value we can bring in tier 1 support, a support function, a receptionist, or whatever. That's where we're moving towards. And then obviously clear efficiency and productivity. And so that ability to replace mundane tasks like booking appointments is kind of the place where we're going towards, where we're able to actually do human activities, what we're actually designed to do, which is create, not do manual, boring work, essentially. And so we're really moving to this place of increased efficiency as a result of that. Why do they fail? Why do our AI projects fail? Trust, lack of skills, failure to connect initiatives with the business problem. Go back to business problem. Don't go to tools. And then lastly, how do you start? We help, and there's a number of clients in the room, through AI workshops to start with business problem, translate that into actual solutions, and then we can also build you an AI agent as well if you'd like to explore how to pilot one of those in your organization as well. So with that said, thank you very much. If you'd like to follow me on LinkedIn. I won't write an AI generated post yet, but give me a shout if you'd like to have any questions. But thank you for
More social in that story rather than trying to
It would, yeah, so because you've clearly stated the objective, which is your goal as the AI agent is to make the booking. That is the objective. So if it veers off, it'll remanufacture that conflict. If it can't, it'll hand off either to human or to sorry, I ran out of time.
Okay, so we've got our panel discussion taking place. I think, I don't know about you guys, but speaking from my perspective as a small business owner, that can be quite daunting. I think sometimes the more you learn about AI and the speed at which it's becoming used, it's really frightening because you think, well, do I have my data ready? Is it secure? Is it in the right place? Can I utilise that? It can be quite scary. And I think that's where a lot of businesses are. But not talking about it isn't going to solve the problem because everybody is going to have to adopt this technology. It's just the speed at which you do it. And I think the main thing I've taken from today is ensure that your data is accurate, it's correct, you're working on your business problem and not trying to throw a shiny new thing at it. And ultimately, again, we organise events. Don't forget your customers are human and you're human. And how often have we all got fed up with the fact that people just reply an email and don't pick up the phone anymore? How frustrating is it? Email, backwards, forwards, you pick up the phone, problem solved 2 minutes. Don't completely go AI, forget the fact that your customers are humans. We're all dealing with humans. If you can automate those boring processes that take all days and days answering really simple emails that could just be answered very, very quickly automatically, absolutely fine. And I'm saying a lot of this from experience in the fact that my background is actually automation. I used to sell robotic control systems to automate factories and warehouses and all that kind of stuff. It's not always been in publishing. And the fear there was lots and lots of people would lose their jobs. And what actually happened is you upskilled people. Because you move those people away from lifting boxes onto another pallet and taking away repetitive strain injuries and giving them a better job because guess what? Now they actually program some of those machines or they maintain those machines. So AI is not necessarily going to kill jobs. It will let people do more worthwhile, more enriching things. But just bear in mind, if you're going to look at your business problems, start with the boring, mundane, repetitive stuff where you can improve efficiency before you try to go to the next shiny new thing. And with that, we've got our panel discussion now. So that's where I feel of it. Let's have a quick hands up in the room. Who is using AI actively to do some kind of process in your business now? Not just talking about going on ChatGPT or write this email for me because I'm not quite sure how to answer it. Who's actually using AI at the moment in the room in the business? So not many really, not many. And is the reason that you're not taking it up because of fear, lack of knowledge, resource? What's the general consensus?
Lack of awareness.
Okay. That's the reason again that we put these things on. This is about to say the state of the art, where we're at, where it's going, to give you some ideas of the art of the possible. Okay, so has anybody got any kind of, after what they've seen, besides the fear factor, besides the fact that you're thinking, oh, is my data all in order? What's the burning question for you right now as to how AI can help you in your business?
Yeah. Hi guys. What I'd like to know is, I think you're correct saying that crap in, crap out, so the data is very important. Do you know of any businesses or people, or maybe in your business, can you help a business like mine sort out my data, which is 40 years, some of it's 40 years old, and in various places? Because that's a lot of work, a lot of time that I haven't got.
Yeah, absolutely. So from that perspective, we would work with you to consolidate those data from being siloed into what we call a uniform centralized repository for you to be able to use for analytics, artificial intelligence, etc. in an automated way. So that's something we absolutely offer. We have to have a consultant session with yourself, find out a bit more in that discovery. But yes, and I would recommend everybody who also has this scenario in place, because you're not alone. Lots of organisations, like I mentioned before, have spreadsheets here, there and everywhere, legacy systems, especially over the last 40 years, for example. really putting that time in to get the foundational layer right will in the future set you up to be able to adopt a lot of these technologies as you move forward. So happy to have a conversation.
And one point I'll make is not particularly that data has to be ultra hierarchical and organized. So if you look at Microsoft Graph, there's data in Microsoft Graph. It's not extremely highly organized. So as human beings, we think about things being in hierarchical order and in folders and super mapped out. With AI, you don't necessarily need that structure. What you need is that data in one place where it's accessible. So it's not so much about this uber structure, but having it in a body that it can be indexed properly and understood.
And a question I'd like to ask you all as well, because I find this. I've given AI, ChatGPT, a basic spreadsheet, and it's really struggled with it. And the data it's given me back is absolute pants, it's nonsense, or it can't read certain cells. So there's a big fear amongst everybody that it's just going to take, it's still in its infancy, although it is accelerating very, very fast. So a lot of the current capabilities of AI, I've given it some very simple things to do, spreadsheet, and it can't even work out and give me a sales trend because it can't read the figures properly. So again, unless you present the data in the right format, it's a big problem.
I think you're totally right. I mean, we've used it for analytical data and things like that. So looking at traffic on a website is the most basic example. And you have to remember that this is just a machine. It does not have human intelligence. If you give it, like an example would be my finance lady is a massive fan of a spreadsheet and will have many tabs going across the top. Now she knows what each of those tabs mean. Right? It's just tacit knowledge. I know because she's color coded it for me. But a machine does not understand that. What it sees is one big spreadsheet split into tabs. It doesn't know why they're split. It doesn't have all of that contextual knowledge. And basic things like if you have a spreadsheet, clearly having the top row defining what each of those columns actually is. Not having like your logo in the top left-hand corner, so getting confused around the structure of the spreadsheet. You've got to remember that it's not yet, I'm not saying never, but it's not yet able to look at the spreadsheet the same way you do as a human being with that tacit knowledge. So you do have to do a bit of a job to tidy it up and give it to it in a format that it can make sense of. And often that's down to the prompting as well. We haven't really, aside from examples in the demos, we haven't touched on prompting that much. And there's a whole, or we could do a whole day on prompting, quite frankly. There's a whole science behind how to get the most out of your prompts. There's something called level 2 prompting, which is like going a stage further than what the rest of us would do. As an example, if you told ChatGPT, my job relies on this data being accurate, it will actually put more weight and more emphasis on the accuracy of its response. So that's another thing and we see that all the time because we're all human, you ask questions in a human way, you expect a human response. You have to remember it's a machine. So hopefully that answers the question to an extent.
Can I just pick up on your point there? You talk about your finance spreadsheet with the colour-coded tabs, right? And I get that tacit knowledge, you can't replace that right? But is it feasible, question to any of you, then could you educate your AI agent to, if you said to it, right, the red tab represents this, the green tab, could you get to that point where you can then write
I think this is where agents could potentially come in.
Yes, agents can. And I did a little bit of a test between CSV with some raw data and a CSV that I had gone out and manipulated for me to understand. The problem is color coding it red and putting a logo and demarcating those things is really for us to process as humans. And in every test where I had what I would call raw data versus sculpted data for my understanding, formatted data, the AI model worked 10 times better in the raw data than with data that you had given, that you had massaged and formatted so that you can interpret it better. So yes, it works. Its ability to understand is not the way we understand. So although it's all neural networks, it simulates, AI simulates a lot in neural networks. So it's the way our brain thinks, but it's almost better without you massaging it and giving it all those fancy things. you'd rather give it the raw data, tell it what the
It
columns are.
becomes more like what you mentioned earlier about your God spreadsheet. There's this person, only one person knows how to interpret.
Yes, exactly.
And actually what we want to do is move away from that and have the knowledge put more centrally and available to more people and interpreted there.
But to do that, there's always the human element, isn't there?
Absolutely.
If there's a change management, I know somebody touched on it, but that's what I'm passionate about, is if you're going to do all these amazing things, you have to remember there's people at the end of it who are very fearful, who will never want to become steeped in AI and how it works. They just want to do their job. And if AI can help them do it and somebody can set up for them, happy days. But if you're suddenly going to say to that godlike person, that amazing spreadsheet you took 15 years to build, yeah, we're just going to scrap that now and you're going to do it this way, that has to be managed. Otherwise you're going to have massive...
Given that's something you're passionate about, how would you approach that conversation? What do you think is the thing that's going to get them to buy into it and see a benefit in it for them?
Oh, okay, well then you're getting into proper change management. But I mean, there's a whole street thing, there's a flow that you can follow.
Yeah.
But first, you've got to engage those people at the very earliest of stages. You have to, and there has to be, they have to understand the why. And if anything, you want them to create the why. That's what you want them to do.
I think that's a valid point, and it's like we said earlier. If you're going to adopt AI, adopt it in a very simple way. What problem do you currently have that's a very basic problem that you can get your head around and that your employees can see the benefit in? It's taking nothing from them, it's helping them and doing some efficiency. And it isn't a threat.
Yeah.
And use that to get a slow adaptation to it. And we mentioned prompts. From my experience, it's almost as important what you tell it you don't want as it is what you do want. And those parameter settings, I think, will be a job in itself in the future, that people will become effectively prompt gurus because they think in a computer-style way to prompt it and get the best possible results from it.
Yeah, this is called guardrails. Yeah, that's the kind of theme, which is where you kind of create guardrails around your prompt to say, like you said there, Martin, you know, you'll do this, do that. You assign the role, you assign the activities, you assign the steps in order in your prompt that it follows through. One of the challenges we're having right now is it can either hallucinate or go off topic, right? And just go, and those guardrails are very important when you're making, I don't know if you, for the Pro, anybody using Copilot or Pro and GPT, but you can create GPTs, custom GPTs, which are almost kind of saying, always follow this path, always write your contract in this format, right? Always heading here, problem statement, the plan, the pricing, and always follow that structure. And every time you do that, those guardrails are very clear on the onset.
So we've not mentioned things like personas. So although we're a publisher, we're very conscious not to use AI to generate content because it's instantly recognisable, especially with Americanisms and all sorts of fostering this and fostering that, you can tell right away. Yeah. It is useful if you create personas, for example, of your client base, different personality and different types of clients. You can actually create your own focus groups. We've done this. We've sat on a course, how to create personas. It's really useful, and you can actually ask it questions like you've actually got a focus group in a room. And that can be really helpful in the fact that we're talking about what problems you solve. You can ask those people.
Just to add on that, I know we talked about problems, and I appreciate problems come in all shapes and sizes, but the way I've got my head around it is a simple phrase. And if you ever find yourself saying, wouldn't it be great if, that's probably something that might be worth exploring. Because, you know, I have it with lots of my staff that, you know, all of us, no matter which business we work in, all feel like we never have enough time to do something. There's always that thing that we avoid doing. And wouldn't it be great if somebody else could do that? Or if I wasn't the person that had to update this God spreadsheet? You know, that's a good way of looking at a problem. Because the wouldn't be great if identifies the issue, and we would achieve that by perhaps utilising AI technology. And I think that's just a different way of looking at that question of, you know, identify the problem first. You know, how do you go about doing that?
Also solves the problem of adaptation and lack of fear, because if you're actually taking away the stuff nobody wants to do.
Ask your people.
Everybody wants to adopt it.
Yeah, absolutely.
anything in business typically comes down to what does it give me versus what does it cost.
Yep.
Is it? Did you not talk about it because it's sensitive? Because it's
we don't have time.
Do you not have to?
Yeah.
Look, that's it's a whole piece on its own, and the savings come from efficiencies, time, automating, mechanizing. There's so much AI can do that is directly attributable to an ROI. These things are fundamental things you can calculate. Absolutely calculate. So yes, ROI is a piece of it, but it's actually quite a large topic on its own.
Sure,
yes,
but the way you even said a kind of case study that did X.
Yeah. So the way that we do it at Fliweel, just to kind of get a little bit closer to, you know, some of the clients around the room, in a workshop setting, you kind of understand the problem. We start with problem. We understand what that manual process looks like. How long is it taking? What's the size of that problem? How long is it taking? Right? How often are you doing it? Let's say it takes 10,000 hours a year to do that particular task. And then we look at the AI solution and we say, actually, we think we're going to halve that to 5,000, or we're going to eradicate that entirely to 0 hours because it's entirely automated. So you can't expect AI to do 100% of your work. Sorry to give you that reality check. But yeah, that's the kind of exercise that you do typically in terms of understanding the business case and your ROI before you invest. And a lot of applications will offer that for you as well.
So I think efficiency is one thing. That's 100%. That's the obvious go-to. How can we save time, therefore money, therefore ROI? The other thing is how effective you are at doing it. So I mean, I've talked about marketing today. You know, Google Ads as an example, Performance Max. We see huge increases in ROI from Performance Max versus traditional campaigns. So ROI is there. ROI is there. You are right to ask it though, and I mean, to be fair, that was part of your talk in terms of value assessment and understanding before you embark on a project what the expected return is kind of crucial to the decision-making process about whether it's even worth doing it. So yeah, 100%. It's part of that identifying the problem and what the benefit of solving it actually is. Whether that's in pounds and pence or more tacit time-saving, that side.
So just on, obviously we're talking about implementation into the business, I think a lot of people struggle, and we're one of them, is that what do you look at? Because what ifs, I know you might know me better than most people in that, but the what ifs, come up with a million of them, is that actually, and also I have the change management side of things to do as well, but it's actually seeing what does AI do in the business. I think that's the big thing here, is that I don't actually know that I can use ChatGPT and Copilot and stuff like that, and I'm okay prompting it as well, and the guardrails and all that sort of stuff, but actually what else can it do? What can it take off? I think that's the big thing. You guys all sitting up there do know that. One thing I obviously touched on a lot of stuff, but actually what can it do?
It'll solve your life's miseries, right? Everything we can.
That's a big. That's
a very open-ended question. What can it do? I think what the message you're hearing from the four of us is, well, what's your problems in the first place? The manual tasks, the marketing tasks, right? And start there. Start with those problems, and then work backwards from there to, actually this tool, that tool is the most.
It can be quite simple. In the demos that I did earlier, where you create an HR agent based on your data, that was just trying to help, Henry with his HR job. If you can save,
I'm a bit of Henry, don't worry
yeah,
about that.
If you can save 20 or 30% of time responding to what I call level 1 questions, does that not make sense? You can, and there's lots of areas within the business where there's lots of those level 1 questions that can be dealt with, and at the end of the thing, I did a little bit on the email helper. Now this is stuff it's within your reach to do yourself. You can say to the email helper, this is what I want you to do for me based on this body of data. And even if it creates 85% of the body of that email in a draft, it saved you God knows how many minutes trying to type that from scratch. So it doesn't necessarily have to be an end-to-end, completely mechanized, automated thing, but it could start by saving you 85% of the time, and then it just needs that last bit of finesse from you to finish it up. You've saved an hour, you've saved 40
Yeah, job
minutes.
descriptions is the perfect one. It does save a lot of time.
So how do you, any tips on, because I'm a huge AI enthusiast across lots of things, and I'm feeding that back down back into my business, a few things we're doing, but more generally, how do you ensure, because that example you just gave there is almost like you want to enable Henry to know that he can go solve his own problems, and you still need a process and guardrails to make sure Henry's doing it right. But how do we enable Henry to be, how do you AI enable your staff so that, because that's the business advantage that your organisation has above another business if you're not having to like push it, but everyone's got the message and got the skills.
I think it's an adoption strategy, and there's lots of ways. I mean, Microsoft has got this whole thing you can do in terms of an adoption strategy. Because there's no point having the tools and then absolutely nobody uses it. You know there's value in that.
Well, that is, I mean, Copilot that's the reputation it has. It's like, oh, this is really sexy, but
nobody knows how to use it.
Yeah.
And that comes to employee awareness, education, and adoption program. Getting buy-in. Buy-in is so important. Because a lot of times you say to people, here's a GFandangle tool, and they go, well, how do I turn it on? Where do I put the thing? How do I turn? And that's the biggest problem, right? It's all about education awareness. And if you're going down a path, and it's about giving them the tools, educating them, and saying this is truly what you can do with it. And we're humans. Some of us are going to embrace it. Some of them go, I can't be bothered really.
So here's an idea again. Is potential for AI? Is it like, I'm thinking of my marketing department. We just had a BHAG, this big, hairy, audacious goal. So like, yeah, we were doing this. Now we need to triple it. And we got 12 months. That's our plan. And we got less stuff. Ideas, and then like the rest of the team is forced. Like there is no other. You've burnt the boat. You've burnt the boats. Then you've got to move forward with AI.
No, so we've kind of talked about it, particularly in my session with a strategic approach, right? So you just mentioned the BHAG. Okay, what does that mean from a metrics perspective? What does good look like? And then you start to work backwards from there to say, okay, to this person's point earlier, okay, what's out there for me that's going to help me to be able to achieve these goals? Can we do this internally? Do we need to partner with external consultants or third parties? And then you fold in the training program as part of that, as you saw when we laid out the actual strategy and roadmap implementation. So I would suggest taking a structured approach, but looking above in terms of what are the business objectives, and then, for example, like I mentioned, how will 85% increase in efficiency help achieve that goal? And you work backwards from there. So I would always say, or recommend starting at that really strategic point, like the BHAG you mentioned, and then putting everything in place off the back of that.
Just to add on that, it starts as our roles as leaders in our organisation and being consistent with our stance and our policy as an organisation around adoption of AI. What I see in the marketing sector specifically is this you can't win no matter what you do. You either adopt it and then there's almost a stigma attached with utilising AI or ChatGPT to generate content, things like that. And then on the flip side of that, you've got this drive for being more effective and more efficient and achieving big hairy goals. You've got to have that stance within, and it's unique to every organisation. And I think being clear on that yourself as a leader about what the opportunities are within your organisation is really, really a good starting point. Then you filter that down through training, development, and policies and procedures so that people understand that what they can do. We want to empower them, but you want to put those guardrails in place. And I think that's our role as leaders to do that. And it's probably the biggest working change that everybody's got to get used to since the internet. And that will take time. Unfortunately, it will take time at a time where technology is moving faster than it's ever moved. So there's going to be that friction.
You only have to move faster than your competitors.
So just
True.
I would talk specifically because my conversation was about agents. Increasingly, startups, small businesses are deploying agents to do both inbound and outbound activities. Let's just take marketing, and Matt will or may not like it, but like outbound email, agent specific, personalized campaigns, right? And you're saving the task of your staff member that was sending those campaigns manually out on the fly with the context from your CRM and responding and outreaching, those outbound are being now done by specific agents.
Yeah.
And so in a world where you're thinking, we want to triple our revenue, but we don't have the humans to do it, now businesses and startups are looking at agents to deploy to do these inbound and outbound activities as well.
You have to maintain all of these agents.
Absolutely. So the role is management, and then you can create supervisor agents. That's the thing that monitor the agents. So this is where I'm seeing in the market space of agents.
Just conscious. I know I paid for 4 hours parking, so did you, and it is now almost 4 hours on the dot from 8:30. So just conscious of people.
Okay, well, I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you've all taken something away from it. There is a survey.
Yes.
Your feedback is really, really valued because we want to improve these sessions, give more value, give more insight, and without your feedback, we can't do that. So thank you all for coming.
Just one question while you're filling the survey out. Could you just put your hand up if you would be interested in coming to another one, say in 6 months' time, as an example? That's good to know.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Yeah, don't you?
No, yeah, you're right. Part of the test. Me and you guys
If you could just leave your lanyard on the table, that would be perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Oh, Steve, no pun intended.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks for that, Steve.
See you later.
AI to solve very smaller business groups exactly how
Yes. No, of course, that makes sense.
When you were increasing yes. Yeah, so Google Analytics
Oh, good question. It's because everything he does is good. I'm saying my mind If you're a Google fan, I know what else it is. The survey is awesome. It was. Oh, that's enough.
Technology. Yeah.
It takes a good volume of data to sales to a point where it then starts to function. So you might find the first, it depends on spend obviously, and the number of events and conversions, but it might take a few weeks just to get meaningful data, and then you can optimize there.
Are you generating invoices?
So it's machine learning. It's I don't use dynamic yeah, so it should be getting which platform
Okay, but so
yes. You'll see that
from CRM through to, are you loading reporting data?
There might be some yeah, I mean, Wix has some tools that you can do. I think
all that until you get free.
Yeah. Kind of the
sales who built them on
then you free. And that's the technical limitation that lots of people are against. There's a lot of fun ring page. It's always so we're getting that sort
There's a really cool app
it's a tiny but yeah, in terms of the models,
it's called Sales Data, Copilot Data for Sales. That bolts into the platform dynamics. So it means that sales meshes with all sales data, all the customer data, sales data, everything that's sitting in the back of your data, and it exposes it in Copilot, ready for that to use. You can start doing something, rewrite a Copilot down there, it's already connected to your dynamic systems. So you can sit there, researching how what's going on with the but then also, like things about seasonality. How do you measure seasonality with sales figures? How do you
did you have a problem with that? Is it this is not, you don't have to have a Google on the server, so you shouldn't have Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to.
Sorry, yeah.
But a lot of that seasonality.
It should be
there. You're going to be laying
well,
not necessarily, but
yeah.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Really well.
almost like you're going to be doing 2 degrees out of waiting on 50%. Okay. So what might happen? It's good to know that a lot of people want to go to another one.
Yeah.
But as you well placed,
we're going to try and actually,
you can say, by the way, it goes up like, oh, yeah, we move on to by the way, right, thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly.
No, well, pretty well.
Anything,
Good. I mean, it's a good sign that we should have this. I'd rather ask questions.
That's all right.
Cheers, guys. Yeah, Matthew.
Yeah, I know I've got loads of stuff to catch up on from this week.
Well,
sorry.
I nearly said I think it's going tomorrow. And then catch up on Tuesday. Go for it on Tuesday. We'll just go for a start out.
Yeah, go for a sign out. I'm
I'm actually first day of so I'll do it tomorrow, but I'm away, I'm away in St. Stephen's to look at stuff. Friday, so when you go through it, like the one I replied with.
The real person.
Yes. Just have a look. Just have a look through it. If you can go back to it, that'd be great, because there's a few in there that are like, they're ready to go. There's approval based. I'm just trying to make sure we keep that. Yeah, process. I need to chase up people. Yeah, with the live chat. Well, yeah, that's the shame reaching the reason, isn't it? So self-managers are happy with people. He's going to be doing because he needs a lot from you. What do you think of that? Yeah. All right, Peter, more introductions for you. I'm not in your position.
Hello, Lionel.
Yes.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. Or Dragon.
Yes. Perfect. So I'm just going over briefly with Lionel.
Yes.
What you mentioned in Tech Week in September. So I thought I'd do the introductions.
That's great. It's always nice to meet people face to face before doing a load of online meetings. So it's great. Yeah, so we're basically working on Tech Week with Milton Keynes. So I work in the city government. We did something very similar which you involved in. I think Andy from Fliweel as well. We did an artificial intelligence summit last year which we but we're looking at doing it again. It's going to be in September 2026. And I think obviously if you mentioned doing something like this again in 6 months, I was just telling Leon, I was like, my brain was like, yeah, that'd be perfect timing for us. Yeah, so we usually do about like 14 to 15 events within the space of a week in various different places in Milton Keynes, at different levels, of course. But I'm sure we can have maybe a conversation if you guys are looking to do something similar to that.
Certainly. Yeah, we were I was talking with Andy earlier, and we did this a year ago.
Right.
And at the time we were like, oh, we should probably do one
Was
again.
that the one that Amy?
Yes. And you know what? I said, in some ways, it feels like a blink of an eye. So much has changed already. I was just dread to think where we were. Excited to see a bit of both. 6 months. Yeah, 6 months is going to fly by, but a lot will change.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's brilliant.
There's a couple of people, there was another contact on Chris Soriel from Mirami, you might know her.
AI avatars.
So she does AI avatars, but we were talking about linking an AI avatar to an agent, where we start humanizing these agents, where we start interacting with people. Exactly. So I'm hoping by that time we will create a humanized face to our agents. It's fantastic.
Do you know what? The presentation was great, but that demo you did, Andy, the call.
That was
just. I think there was
the whole
just a
room
moment
just
where,
sort of went
penny drop.
Oh,
yeah.
Drop.
Oh,
This
okay.
can
This is
happen.
where this is going.
Yeah.
So that was really powerful.
It's not really been, voice AI is a new category, it's not really talked about in the UK yet. In the US it's growing, and it's getting smarter. I'm glad it did, I mean it screwed up one bit on the pricing, but
The thing is though, you notice that because you know what's going on behind the scenes, but
Yeah.
the average user in the room
And
did
it
not
just
know.
plays into your point about the whole human element of it.
Absolutely.
But one of the guys I can hear him saying, because when you started talking about the AI, it was like, it's picked it up.
That you've interrupted.
That you've interrupted it, and it's gone straight on to the next question, which was.
And it
really
didn't
good.
sit there thinking, oh, how am I going to respond to this?
Yeah.
It responded in a very human way.
Was it just me, or could you hear like typing?
Yeah, no, it was like they were in a physical office.
Yeah.
It's part of it. It's to make it feel like they're in an office. So
It's fantastic.
yeah, you can switch it on.
I saw your LinkedIn videos, which are great, by the way.
That's what I'm saying.
And the first thing I did was message you on WhatsApp saying,
I think you did.
interested in
Yeah, Lionel, you did that as well, right?
Yes,
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
It literally came up yesterday because our phone system wasn't working, and it made me have a look and see how many calls might we have missed, and turns out not a lot. If the last 2 months are anything to go by, and then I did some analysis, and most of it is spam sales calls coming into the business, which we don't have the luxury of a full-time
person answering the phone. Everybody has to kind of share the load. So for a small business, that's quite the overhead to carry.
Not just small business, but the first thing that came to my mind, right? Let's say you're servicing your boiler at home. You call one man in van. Okay, he sat there servicing your boiler. How often is he sat doing? Yep, yes,
that's
okay.
exactly
I think I can fit you in, and then he puts his phone down and says, come back again. I need to order this part. And there's another one coming in. Yes, I think I can fit. And half the time we're servicing the boilers on the phone. And this, for me, was like, what if that talent person had somebody that could field that call, could book the appointments, could take the payment.
Yeah.
You know, somebody called, I'd like to pay for this boiler service.
We've all, at some stage in our lives, had the joy of phoning HMRC and sitting on
Well,
hold, or your bank, they're in there
yeah.
as well. You sit on hold for an hour, and the best you get these days is the ability to have callback. But you know when that phone rings, you're going to miss the call, and then you're going to have to start the whole process again. So that was the thing that kind of went into my brain. Was like, if I can just tell them a piece of information they want to know, or they can give me a quick answer. You know, brilliant. I'm going to sit there for an hour.
Exactly. Level one FAQs, pricing, opening hours, you know, and then level 2 is okay, book appointment. Level 3 is a payment. You know, that's like the tiers of service.
Great.
Amazing.
Hopefully, yeah, I'm gonna raise for it actually. So I'm gonna take this one to, it's a separate business. It's that's what partly why I'm in London now as well to like do some serious with that one. That's the V2s as well.
That's great. Thanks,
Thank you.
Neil.
Yeah, we get something sorted out.
Yeah, that would be lovely. That would be great. Thank you very
Everyone else supposed to meet you all? Well done today.
Take care.
See you again soon.
Thank you.
See you. Thanks.
That's, I don't know why it's got
Yes,
but that's
thank
why I
you.
want anywhere.
Perfect.
Yeah, if
You got your card.
No, I don't have a card.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I'm gonna. So what I'll do is I'll try and schedule an initial call with all of you guys,
Yes.
with our head of department and everyone that's working on this, and see how it's okay. We've got bags of time, which is the important thing for events.
Amazing. Thank you. Pleasure to meet you.
Yes, lovely to meet you too. Thanks, Simon. Thank you very
Take care.
much. Yeah.
We did an event with the catering team last year.
Yes,
So you've got a ticket, by the way?
I've just extended mine, so.
I didn't get one.
Oh, did you not?
No.
There was it's on Ringo, the app.
Is it council?
Yeah, brilliant. I mean,
Is it council on Friday?
so we got.
I don't know, but
Because I've been with guys, so if it's council on, I get it for free. If it's not,
ignorance.
Am I going to meet you at the office?
yeah, I'm coming on.
Brilliant. Thank
Mark,
you guys.
well done,
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Thank you. Take care. See you later. Take
Look
care.
forward to the next one.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah.
Oh, is that camera?
Thank
That's
you.
somebody's here, isn't it? Andy. That camera. That's the chat. Who's... Okay. So they're going to send you the video.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully there's got audio which I can use. So might be able to tip it all together.